Chapter 1438. Tian was overjoyed. Didn't that mean he was going to be awesome? The more he thought about it, the more excited he got. I'm not afraid of hardships. When I was training my iron fist, I put my hand in hot charcoal. It's fine, Lenny boss, don't worry, I can take it. As long as I can level up, I'll be fine even if you beat me to death. Beat you to death, and you'll still level up. Lin, he was speechless. This guy's thinking was a little off, but Lin, he didn't say much. He only nodded and put his hand on Tian's meridians. Tian thought that Lin, he was checking his meridians, but the next moment, he felt that the injured parts of his body were being healed by a strong energy. In an instant, his injuries were healed a little. This was something Tian couldn't imagine. Tian's eyes widened. He was from a noble house, and he had gotten injured many times when he practiced martial arts. After he got injured, there were also private doctors in the family who would heal him. Although these doctors were better than normal clinics, Tian had never seen Lin Yi's healing method before. What was this called? Checking the meridians? Tian had never seen this before. But after Tian screamed, he quickly shut his mouth. He saw that Lin, he had his eyes closed, clearly focused on healing him. Tian didn't want to disturb him. Time passed, and Tian was getting more and more shocked. He couldn't believe that his injuries could be healed so quickly. It had only been a short while, but the internal injuries in his body were already almost healed. Suddenly, he thought of a shocking possibility. Wasn't House Sun a healing house? He wanted to marry Sun Jingyi because he wanted her to heal him when he was injured, right? But how could Lin know House Sun's arts? But that didn't make sense. It seemed that the Sun family's mental cultivation method could only heal one person. But Lin Yi seemed to be able to heal many people. Tian had heard of Lin Yi's amazing medical skills. He'd even thought that Lin Yi was a liar who wanted to treat his aunt's father-in-law. But now it seemed that Lin Yi wasn't a liar at all. It was his own ignorance. Just thinking about it made Tian blush. Fortunately, Lin Yi was a magnanimous person and didn't bring it up again. In fact, it was because of Tian's dedication that made Lin Yi accept him. If it weren't for Tang Yun, Lin Yi wouldn't have accepted him so easily. What Tian didn't expect was that almost all of his damaged meridians were healed, and even some of the internal injuries from his training were healed by Lin Yi. Tian couldn't help but want to cheer. His two bosses were one stronger than the other. No wonder Gooden had to call Lin Yi boss even though he was so strong. He couldn't help but be impressed. Start channeling your practitioner's arts, Lin Yi suddenly said to Tian. Oh, okay. Tian paused and quickly replied. He didn't dare to delay and started channeling his practitioner's arts. Tian felt a sudden surge of pure qi coming from Lin Yi and entering his body. Tian's practitioner's arts, which were extremely awkward at first, became smooth all of a sudden. The reason why it wasn't smooth before was because there wasn't any spiritual qi in the world, and there wasn't any spiritual medicine for training. But now, with Lin Yi's pure qi flowing in, Tian didn't have any bottlenecks like before, and his spiritual strength increased rapidly. Tian was surprised and happy, but he didn't dare to delay or rest, afraid that he'd waste a bit of pure qi. He was shocked that Lin Yi was giving him the pure qi, but since Lin Yi had already done it, if he didn't accept it, he'd be letting down Lin Yi's good intentions. He had to train even harder, but Tian felt that Lin Yi was becoming more and more like House Sun's practitioner's arts. Could it be that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi really had some sort of relationship? But no matter what, he had already given up on Sun Jingyi, so he shouldn't think about Sun Jingyi anymore. Plus, he had a boss like Lin Yi. Why would he need Sun Jingyi? Tian felt relieved. He'd gotten stronger, so why would he be afraid of not finding a wife? With that thought, Tian worked even harder, golden class. Tian didn't think that he'd broken through just like that. How long had it been? Just like that? He'd been training his physical style since he was young, and he'd only broken through to golden class, but this spiritual style broke through in just a few hours. Wasn't this a little too fast? Tian couldn't believe it. Was he the fastest golden class master in history? But Just when he was thinking about how he'd broken through so quickly, he realized that he was about to break through to Golden Class Early Phase Peak. Golden Class Early Phase Peak. Shintian broke through again. He was a little prepared this time, but he was still shocked. No way, he'd surpassed his original physical strength in the blink of an eye. Was this real? I'm not dreaming, right? Golden Class Mid-Phase. Shintian finally confirmed that he wasn't dreaming, but he'd broken through to Golden Class Mid-Phase. Golden Class Mid-Phase Peak. Shintian was a little numb. This was too fast, and he couldn't accept it. He hadn't even experienced the joy of breaking through to Golden Class Mid-Phase, and now he was Golden Class Mid-Phase Peak. Golden Class Late Phase. Shintian felt like his heart was going to explode. He'd never heard of a way to break through like this. Golden Class Late Phase Peak. Shintian felt like he was sitting in a helicopter, but he didn't think about whether it was real or not. He wouldn't dream like this. Every time he broke through the bottleneck, the pressure was real. It was painful, but as Shintian said, it was nothing compared to the hard work he'd put in. It could be seen that Shintian was a little arrogant, but he was someone who could take hardships. His strength was also obtained through hard work. Next, I'm going to turn you into Mystic Class Early Phase. You might suffer a lot, but just bear with it. Lin, he suddenly said to Shintian. Chapter 1439. But now was a time of need, and Lin, he needed Shintian to protect Mengyao, Yushu, and Tangyan. Only by doing his best could he ensure their safety. Mystic? Shintian was shocked beyond words. He was a Golden Class Late Phase Peak now, and he was already very surprised and satisfied. Was there anyone who could go from a person who didn't know martial arts to a Golden Class Late Phase Peak in one day? Shintian didn't think so. At least he hadn't seen it before. But now, it hadn't even been a day. In just one night, he became a Golden Class Late Phase Peak, and this wasn't enough. He wanted to become a Mystic Class. Shintian felt his body shaking with excitement. When he recognized Gooden as his boss, he wanted to take a gamble. He wanted to see Gooden's physical skills, and he wanted to learn from him to increase his own strength. But he didn't expect that his strength increased, but it was the spiritual strength, not the physical strength. But before Shintian could get excited, he felt a strong surge of qi entering his body, and it exploded, becoming even stronger. In an instant, his body swelled up like an inflated balloon. "Ah, dash!" Shintian moaned in pain, but he clenched his teeth. He said before that he could endure it, so in order to not let Lin Yi look down on him, he gritted his teeth and endured the pain, not letting himself make a sound. Shintian's strength was beyond Lin Yi's expectations. On the other side, Lin Yi had completed his own steps, and the rest was up to Shintian. Lin Yi couldn't help much, and success or failure depended on Shintian's talent and luck. With Chen Yutian, Ling Shan, and General Wei Wu as examples, Lin Yi wasn't worried about Shintian's safety. This method of condensing energy to increase strength seemed to work, at least for Golden Class Late Phase, Peak to Mystic. Lin Yi, on the other hand, wasn't idling. After helping Shintian increase his strength, it was already the morning of the second day. Lin Yi heard voices outside the door. It should be Faubert and Pengzhan. They must have heard the news of Lin Yi's return from Immerse, so they came early in the morning. Lin Yi pushed the door open and saw Pengzhan and Faubert sitting on the sofa in the living room. Mengyao and Yushu were already dressed, evidently ready to go to school. "Uncle Chu, Faubert, you're here." Lin Yi nodded to them. Uncle Fu and I came to see you after hearing that you've returned safely," Pengzhan said. "But I heard from Yao Yao that you're leaving soon." "Yes, Uncle Chu, I'm going to look for the fire spirit's fruit to cure Xiao Xiao's disease. I'm afraid I'll have to leave soon." "Then how long will you be gone this time? College entrance exams are around the corner. You'll probably miss it, right?" Pengzhan asked. Uncle Chu, you're saying that I should stay with Yao Yao and Yushu after they go to college?" Lin Yi paused. Meng Yao and Yushu would definitely go to another city if they went to college. There was no way they would stay in Songshan. After all, there was only one medical university in Songshan, and the two clearly didn't want to study medicine. "Yeah, It's rare that Yao Yao likes you so much. You know how she is. She doesn't accept strangers easily. So I'm thinking that you should go to the same university as her and continue to be her bodyguard. Peng Zhan said. The miss blushed after hearing Peng Zhan's words. She wanted to argue, but she didn't want to. She felt conflicted before. Ming Yao had thought about what would happen to Lin Yi after she and Shu went to college. From her point of view, it didn't matter if she was willing or not. Their fate would end there. Lin Yi was clearly not a simple bodyguard, and Ming Yao understood that hiring him as a bodyguard was a waste of his talent. So, she couldn't just shamelessly ask him to protect her for the rest of his life. Could she? All good things must come to an end. Lin Yi had already resigned, and he was only staying here as a friend. He didn't have the obligation to protect her anymore, and they didn't have a relationship of employer and subordinate. From Ming Yao's point of view, she wouldn't be able to tie Lin Yi to her anymore after she and Shu went to university and lived there. Naturally, she wouldn't be able to tie Lin Yi down anymore. That wasn't realistic either. Lin Yi had his own life, and he had his girlfriend. Would Tang Yun bring her and Shu along when she went on a date? What would that become? Would it really be like what Shu said, that everyone would marry Lin Yi? Although Ming Yao wasn't really against it, she felt that it wasn't the case. Besides, she clearly didn't like Lin Yi that much. She was just used to having him by her side. Shu was the one who liked Lin Yi. Great, great. Yushu clapped her hands after hearing Peng Zhan's words, forgetting what Lin Yi wanted to say. That isn't too good. I don't think I can make it for the college entrance exams. Lin Yi sighed. Besides, Yao Yao and Shu won't be in this city when they go to college, right? That's not a problem. Yao Yao and Shu are participating in the college entrance exams to prove their strength. I have a way to do it even if you don't need to. It's just that it's not a good name to be a self-funded student. Peng Zhan said, if you're worried, let Tang Yun go to the same college as them. Peng Zhan seemed to have seen through Lin Yi's thoughts. Shield bro, you're going back on your words. Are you going back on your words? Yushu didn't give Lin Yi time to think and question him directly. Oh, Lin Yi paused. Why would I go back on my words? You promised me before that the one who changes will be General Weiwu. Chen Yu said. Yushu's words reminded Lin Yi of the time when he'd lost all his strength and was about to resign. Then it's a deal. If you recover to a higher level than before, you'll have to stay in the villa forever with me and Yao Yao sis. It's a deal. I want a pinky swear. Okay. Pinky swear for 100 years and you can't change. The one who changes will be General Weiwu. Chapter 1440. Lin Yi was just brushing Yushu off. He didn't think that he'd recover his strength and break through all of a sudden, but this sentence became a promise to Lin Yi. Lin Yi wasn't someone who made promises easily, especially to friends. Once he made a promise, he had to keep it. Yeah, I said already, I'm Prophet Shu. Yushu nodded. Then you can't go back on your words. But last time we agreed to stay in the villa, right? You guys are going away to college, so naturally you won't be staying in the villa anymore, Lin Yi said. A villa? Yushu thought about it, and an idea came to her. We can buy a villa in another city, right, Uncle Chu? Peng Zhan was the rich one here. So naturally, Yushu looked at him. Peng Zhan was willing for Lin Yi to stay as well, so he nodded. Of course, that's not a problem. That's what I was planning to do anyway. Otherwise, Faubert and I wouldn't have a place to stay if we want to visit you guys, right? You guys can stay in the school during the week, and you can go back to the villa during the weekends. Yeah, Shield bro, look, he said a villa, but he didn't say where it was, so it's fine as long as it's a villa, right, Yao Yao sis? Yushu held Ming Yao's hand and asked, how would I know what your deal was with him? Ming Yao acted like she didn't mind, but on the inside, she was happy. This Shu sure had foresight, getting it right every time. All right, since it's a deal, then we'll have to do it. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Uncle Chu, I'll leave the school to you then. What's there to beg about? You take care of Yao Yao and Shu. I'm the one troubling you. Peng Zhan smiled. Right. When are you planning to leave? Do you need to prepare anything? I don't need to prepare anything. I'll see about it for the next few days. I'll leave after dealing with things at home. Lin Yi smiled. The fire spirit's fruit doesn't have legs, so it won't be able to run away. I'll have to settle things at home first, and I'll let Wu Chuntian take over temporarily to protect Yao Yao and Shu. That's fine, but Wu Qintian's strength. Peng Zhan and Faubert had heard about Qintian's situation, and they accepted him after seeing how dedicated he was. But they were still worried about Qintian's strength. Strength isn't a problem. I've forcefully raised his spiritual strength to mystic early phase. He's a dual practitioner now, not much weaker than me. It's more than enough to protect Yao Yao and Shu. Lin said. Peng Zhan had heard from Faubert that Lin could forcefully raise someone's strength, so he wasn't surprised. But the fact that he could raise Chantan to mystic early phase shocked Faubert. You can raise someone's strength to mystic now? While Li Fu's desire to reach a higher level in his youth had faded a lot with the passing of time, he was still able to increase his strength a little bit more, and it would be a great boost to his ability to protect Peng Zhan and Meng Yao. Yes, this is a method I came up with when I was exploring the tomb, and I've tested it on Lingshan and Yutian. It's proven to be effective. So if you're free later, Faubert, come back to the villa, and I'll help you raise your strength. Lin saw through Faubert's thoughts and said, All right, I'll come back after sending Miss Chu and the others off. Faubert really couldn't wait to raise his strength. After all, this was an irresistible temptation for practitioners. After checking on Lin Yi and confirming Lin Yi's schedule, Peng Zhan left the villa with Meng Yao and Yu Shu, leaving Faubert to send them to work and school. Lin Yi, on the other hand, stayed in the villa, waiting for Chuntan to break through. Although he didn't need Lin Yi's protection, Lin Yi was afraid that someone would barge in and hurt him. Qintian wouldn't be able to fight back at this point. Lin Yi waited for everyone to leave before returning to his room, only to see Qintian holding his lower body pitifully, looking for clothes. He looked a little awkward when he saw Lin Yi. Lin Yi, boss, I accidentally blew my clothes up when I broke through. Huh, that's normal. It's the same for others. Lin Yi wasn't surprised. Just find some clothes and put them on. We're both men. What's there to be afraid of? It's not that. It's just that it's a little small. Qintian was a little embarrassed and let go. I'm afraid that you'll laugh at me. Lin Yi, boss, when you get a girlfriend, I'll make it bigger for you. Hurry up and put your clothes on. Lin Yi was speechless. Wah, it can get bigger? Thank you so much, Lin Yi, boss. Qintian was so happy that he started dancing, even happier than when he broke through. He wanted to look for clothes to wear. What do you feel now? Lin Yi asked. I feel great right now. I didn't think that I'd become a mystic early phase, and I'm a dual practitioner. I feel like I can fight my grandpa now. Qintian said, beating up Uncle Zhu is child's play. And we'll talk about Uncle Zhu in 2 days. Let's wait for you to stabilize your strength. You're actually still a golden class early phase physical practitioner, and your spiritual practitioner's arts only exist to support physical practitioners. It doesn't have any offensive skills, so you should focus on leveling up your physical skills as well. Lin Yi knew Qintian's situation like the back of his hand and directly pointed out his weakness. Qintian was also a mystic early phase, but he was different from Lingshan and Yutian. Lingshan and Yutian were both spiritual practitioners, so after leveling up, they had corresponding strength. Faubert was different as well. Faubert may have been a physical practitioner, but that was later on. Faubert's first practice was still a high-grade spiritual practitioner's arts. So, after leveling up, Faubert was basically an external supporting internal practitioner, unlike Qintian, who was an internal supporting external practitioner. When it came to both internal and external practitioners, one was the main, and the other was the support. It was very rare for both to be a high-grade practitioner. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't continue to practice physical practitioners because he hadn't found a suitable external practitioner's arts, so he focused on spiritual practitioners. Chapter 1441. Lin Yi nodded. Then I won't disturb you. Go to the guest room and train yourself. Come see me when you've reached mystic early phase. Okay. Qintian gritted his teeth. He thought that it was a bit hard, but Lin Yi was able to turn him from a normal golden class physical practitioner into a mystic early phase spiritual practitioner. Wasn't it hard? It looked easy, but it was hard to tell how much effort Lin Yi had put in. Qintian felt that leveling up a person's strength wasn't something that easy. Lin Yi didn't say it out loud, but he knew that he must have put in a lot of effort. Chintian was grateful to Lin Yi, and at the same time, he swore to himself that he would train hard and not waste Lin Yi's efforts. Go! Lin Yi nodded. Chintian was looking good right now. He was full of energy, and Lin Yi was quite satisfied. At the same time Chintian was training hard, a black SUV stopped in front of the floating cloud bar, and the first to step out was Zhao Qibing. Yes, you saw it right. He walked out. He didn't need a wheelchair anymore. He could walk. Zhao Qibing got out and stood at the side of the car, waiting respectfully until Elderby got out as well. He stood up straight again. Master, I've realized that it's really good to walk on my own, without a wheelchair restraining me. It's so comfortable. I didn't expect you to be so strong in martial arts, and your medical skills are even better. Qibing's leg, naturally, was healed by Elderby. He was an Earth-class late-phase peak, but he was also a master of medicine himself. All these years, he'd been acting as old Zhao's personal doctor, but House Zhao had other personal doctors like Yao Wang. So other than old Zhao, Elderby wouldn't treat anyone else. Now that Qibing was his disciple, naturally, Elderby would treat him. Ha! Don't worry, I will teach you this medical skill in the future. Elderby knew that Qibing was flattering him, but he didn't mind at all. That was just how Elderby was. If he liked you, he'd like you no matter what you did. If he didn't like you, he'd find fault with whatever you did. Thank you, Master, I'll work hard, Qibing quickly said. This time, Zhao Qibing came back to deliver the medicine to Uncle Zhu. In fact, his main purpose was to show his identity, Elderby's disciple. This meant that he was the future head of House Zhao. Qibing was using this method to make Sihua, Uncle Zhu, and, through Uncle Zhu, tell Elder Zhu that Qibing was going to make it big in the future. He wanted them to follow him and not have any suspicions. Qibing was also paving the way for his future. After all, it was very important to have his men supporting him. These people might seem a little weak now, but they were the future elders and backbone of the house. With these people, he'd be able to get more men to follow him until the day he became the head of House Zhao. Of course, Qibing couldn't say that to Elderby. He told Elderby that he was worried about Uncle Zhu's injury and wanted to deliver the meridian opening pill to Uncle Zhu as soon as possible, but he was worried that something might happen to him on the way back. After all, the meridian opening pill was very important, so naturally Elderby came back with Qibing. Elder Yu, on the other hand, didn't think that Qibing was using this opportunity to show off. Instead, he felt that Qibing was a loyal and righteous person. He felt that his eyes were right. This disciple of his was a man of great use. If he became the head of the house in the future, he'd protect the people of the house. Floating Cloud wasn't open yet. It had just opened in the morning, and the waiters were cleaning the place. When Qibing walked in, the waiters recognized him, but they were all very surprised. The boss was usually in a wheelchair, so why was he walking today? But they didn't dare to ask. After all, the boss's leg was a taboo, and people weren't allowed to touch it. Boss, you're back. The waiters all greeted Qibing. Su Jianong, on the other hand, heard the commotion outside and rushed out with Sihua. There was no one in the bar during the day, so the commotion outside was very clear. Su Jianong and Sihua heard the waiters greeting their boss, so they walked out immediately. Master Bing, you're back. Your leg. Sihua was a little surprised to see Qibing. Naturally, my master healed my leg. Qibing smiled. Sihua, this is my master, Elderby. Come and greet him. Yes. Sihua was shocked. He was Guangyin's underling, and naturally, he had some understanding of the hidden House Zhao. He knew who Elderby was. He was the personal bodyguard of House Zhao's old man. He'd be a person on the same level as the Grand Elder in the future, and now that he'd taken Qibing as his disciple, didn't that mean that Qibing would become the young master of House Zhao? Sihua didn't dare imagine it. Sihua was still a little reluctant when he first started following Qibing, thinking that he'd be able to get some results with Qibing before asking Guangyin to let him go back to House Zhao to take charge of other things. He thought that an illegitimate child wouldn't be able to do much, but now, Qibing had risen to the top in one step. Greetings, Elderby, Sihua said respectfully. At this time, Uncle Zhu and Yao Wang came out from the room as well. They heard the news of Elderby's arrival. They were all under Elderby's management in House Zhao, So how could they not come out to greet him? Especially Yao Wang. He knew Elder Bai's medical skills, and he knew that Elder Bai was the head doctor of the house. This made him even more respectful. Greetings, Elder Bai. Uncle Zhu and Yao Wang said respectfully after coming out. Little Zhu, the master you follow is really a kind-hearted, affectionate, and righteous person. Since Elder Bai had taken Qibing in as a disciple, he had to start thinking for him. He said directly, "Do you know what Qibing said when the head of the house asked him what reward he wanted? He did a great job for the house this time. And you know what he said?" Chapter 1442. At the same time, Uncle Zhu was happy for himself. Qibing was strong, and his position as his follower naturally rose as well. The head of the house even promised Qibing that he'd be the next heir, but Qibing didn't budge at all. He only had one request, and that was to get you a meridian opening pill. Elder Bai said, "Lil Zhu, what do you think of this, master?" Uncle Zhu didn't think that Qibing would give up the position of heir just for one meridian opening pill. He was so moved that his eyes were brimming with tears as he kneeled on the ground. "Master Bing, what have I done for you to treat me like this? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Giving up the position of heir for me is not a smart move at all. Please take back the Qi gathering pill. I don't want it anymore." Uncle Zhu wasn't an idiot. He knew very well. If Qibing really became the young head of the house, how could he not have a pill? When the time comes, he will definitely ask for another pill for me. Wouldn't that be the best of both worlds? Uncle Zhu, don't say that. Grandpa's decision can't be changed. Qibing jumped in fright and quickly scolded. "Take the meridian opening pill and train hard. That's the best way to repay me." "Ha, Lil Zhu, there's no need to be like that. This pill is already here. It's a gift from the head of the house. There's no reason to take it back." Elder Bai looked at Uncle Zhu's reaction and smiled. Plus, to become the future head of the house, you need to be a talented and virtuous young man. You don't just have to contribute to the Zhao family. Qibing, on the other hand, is a loyal child, and that's why I took him in as my disciple. Uncle Zhu's heart skipped a beat as he understood Elder Bai's meaning. He blamed himself for being a busybody, but Elder Bai's meaning was clear. Even if Qibing became the heir, it wouldn't be stable, and Qibing's loyalty was what Elder Bai really valued. "Yes, Master Bing is very loyal to us. If that's the case, I'll work hard to become Master Bing's right-hand man as soon as possible." Uncle Zhu quickly cupped his fists and said. He finally understood Master Bing's plan. Master Bing seemed to be loyal and gave up the position of the young master for Uncle Zhu. But wasn't this also because of Master Bing's control over people's hearts? Master Bing had found a good entry point. Not only did he gain the favor of Elder Bai and the head of House Zhao, but he also got himself a Dan. It was the best of both worlds. "Yao Wang, I heard that you also contributed to the discovery of the Qi gathering pill." After talking to Uncle Zhu, Elder Bai turned to Yao Wang. But when he saw the lightning rod on Yao Wang's body, he felt strange. "What is that on you? Are you doing acupuncture on yourself?" Yao Wang didn't dare lie in front of Elder Bai. He could only tell the truth. "These needles, it's all because of that Lin Yi kid." Yao Wang's heart was filled with hatred at the mention of Lin Yi. He was a great doctor, and yet he was humiliated by Lin Yi like this, not daring to pull out all the needles on his body. How embarrassing. Lin Yi put these needles in your body. Why didn't you pull them out?" Elder Bai paused. He thought that Yao Wang did it himself, practicing some high-level kung fu. He didn't know that it was Lin Yi who did it. Lin Yi sealed his pure energy on the tip of the needle and stabbed it into my body. I didn't dare pull it out because the moment I did, the pure energy would explode and damage my meridians. Yao Wang said, troubled. "My abilities are limited, and I can't break it. I can only stay like this." And here I thought it was some other reason. Elder Bai humphed in disdain. "It's just a small trick in front of me. I'll help you deal with it. You're Qibing's underling now, so you're technically mine. You need to take care of your image outside, or people will think I'm useless." "Thank you, Elder Bai." Yao Wang was overjoyed. Elder Bai had agreed to help, so naturally, there wouldn't be a problem. Lin Yi's methods might be difficult for a mystic, but for Elder Bai an Earth-class late-phase peak, it was no problem at all. It's nothing much, Elderby said faintly as he waved his hand at Yao Wang's body. The needles were easily pulled out, and Yao Wang wasn't hurt at all. All the pure qi had been dissolved by Elderby. Qi Bing, Si Hua, Yao Wang, and Uncle Zhu were all amazed. Lin Yi's methods were nothing in Elderby's eyes. If Elderby were to deal with Lin Yi, wouldn't it be as easy as lifting a finger? But that was to be expected. Lin Yi was strong, but he was still a mystic. Even if Lin Yi could fight an Earth-class early phase, that was only limited to the early phase. Elderby, on the other hand, was an Earth-class late phase peak, one step away from Sky class. Someone like that, naturally, would be able to break through Lin Yi's methods easily. Plus, Lin Yi's methods weren't too masterful. He could only make those with lower training feel helpless. Those with higher training, like Elderby, could forcefully dissolve Lin Yi's qi. At that thought, Yao Wang thought of something. Elderby, that Lin Yi is a huge problem for us House Zhao. If you were to deal with Lin Yi, it'd be a piece of cake. Yao Wang, my father and grandpa would decide this. Don't say anything else. Qi Bing jumped and quickly stopped him. This was what he wanted to say as well, but if his father and grandpa didn't agree, then even if Elderby was a surefu, he couldn't do it. It's fine, but I'm an Earth class, and the Earth class of a hidden house is restricted by the Council of the Noble Houses. They can't come to the common world and participate in the fights here. If I were to make a move, I'd be used against. Elderby said, if you want to deal with Lin Yi, you'd have to find a chance in the common world. As for me, I can't do it. I'm too big a target. Yao Wang nodded helplessly. He knew the rules of a hidden house, but he was from a hidden house as well. He thought that Elderby would be fine if he were to make a move. Yao Wang, don't worry. With a surefu like Elderby here, what's there to be afraid of? Once I'm strong enough, I'll take revenge myself. Wouldn't that be better? Qi Bing, on the other hand, felt a sense of heroic. His position was different now, and so was his perspective. Chapter 1443. That's right. That's more like my disciple. It's never too late for a man to take his revenge. As long as House Zhao doesn't make a big deal out of you and register you with the Noble House Association, you won't even be considered a part of House Zhao on the surface. No one will be able to say anything wrong if you go after Lin Yi. Elderby nodded confidently. Don't worry, as my disciple. You'll have priority in using all of House Zhao's treasures. I'll make sure you level up quickly. Ah, thank you, Master. Qi Bing was shaking with excitement after hearing Elderby's words. Even his father Guanyin didn't get this kind of treatment. He was the head of the house, but there was a limit to how much he could spend every month. There was no other reason than that old Zhao and Elderby didn't think highly of Guanyin, thinking that he had no drive. It was fine to keep a business, but it was hard to start a business. House Zhao wouldn't fall in his hands, but there wouldn't be much development. So old Zhao didn't need to spend too much effort on him. Strength didn't matter, as long as he could manage House Zhao when he was in isolation. The other disciples were even less capable, so he could only choose Guanyin. But Qi Bing, on the other hand, was a disciple of Elderby, and he'd put a lot of effort into him. Even if he didn't have the talent for practicing, he'd still have plenty of herbs. Plus, Elderby had already checked Qi Bing's bone structure, and felt that the kid's potential was decent. It was just that he hadn't started practicing since he was young. But that didn't matter. With the foundation pill, there was nothing to worry about. Okay, Qi Bing, do you have anything to say about the things here? You'll be coming back to House Zhao with me to practice. Leave the things here to Tsihua and Zhu. Elderby's goal was to bring the meridian opening pill to Uncle Zhu, and there was nothing else to do after that. Master, do you think it's a good idea for me to come back with you? After all, I'm still a bastard child. Qi Bing was worried about that, but he didn't want to leave the freedom he had in the common world. If he went back to House Zhao now, he wouldn't be too high profile, even with his identity as Elderby's disciple. He had to be careful, and he had to worry about Xiaojin's plans. He didn't want to go back before his position was stable. Unless he didn't have any plans, that was fine, and he could just be a peacemaker, but that wasn't what Qi Bing wanted. Oh, so you're saying? Elderby paused, then smiled. You're my disciple. Who dares say anything? Of course I know that, but Master, master, I'm doing it. Zhao Qibing said earnestly. Master, think about it. I've appeared in House Zhao out of the blue. Others might not dare to say anything, but they can think about it. What if rumors start spreading like wildfire? UI, master. I dash you. You. I didn't think you'd think this far ahead. Elderby nodded with approval. You're talking about this. I didn't think your identity is a little sensitive right now, and you suddenly came to House Zhao without a reason. People would be suspicious. All right, when the head of the house is in isolation, you can stay in the floating cloud bar. I'll come here often to teach you. Is there a secret room here? Yes. Zhao Qibing was overjoyed. In fact, he wanted to return to House Zhao with a proper reason and not hide like a coward. But his reason now was just and honorable. All right, let's go to the secret room. I'll help you take the foundation establishment pill and restructure your bones. Elderby said. Master, please. Qibing said quickly. Lil Zhu, come with us. You take the meridian opening pill and stay with Qibing. I'll protect you, Elderby said. Thank you, Elderby. Uncle Zhu was overjoyed. With Elderby protecting him, he'd definitely succeed. Faubert and Tianlong arrived at the villa almost at the same time. Uncle Feng. Lin Yi stood up and greeted Tianlong. No need to be so polite. How is it? I rushed over as soon as I got the news of your return. Tianlong said urgently. Is there any news of the fire spirit's fruit? Yes, Lin Yi said with certainty. But it's only a general direction, no exact location. I'll go look for it myself after I'm done with my family matters. That's good. Tianlong heard Lin Yi's words and was overjoyed. There was only hope, but it was better than no hope at all. But Tianlong couldn't help but ask, that fruit, how many are there? There should be a lot on a tree, right? Lin Yi was guessing as well. Zhang Liju's notes didn't mention how many fruits there were on a tree, but he'd taken 2 of them, and judging from his tone, there should be more. At least as many as 2. Good, good. Does that mean that Susu can be saved? Tianlong's face was full of excitement. He didn't think that he'd be able to see Susu again. There should be hope for Ani Xiao, but the fruit needs to be stored in a special container. I can only bring 1 back. Lin Yi said. So, I'm going to bring Xiao Xiao with me. That way, I could bring 1 back for Ani Xiao. After hearing the first half of Lin Yi's words, Tianlong's heart was in his throat. He thought that Lin Yi wasn't going to save Xiao Susu. After all, he could only bring 1 back, and that meant that Xiao Xiao would have priority. If Lin Yi went again, he wouldn't know when. But Lin Yi said he would bring Xiao Xiao with him, and bring 1 back for Xiao Susu. This made Tianlong very touched. Thank you, Lin Yi, thank you so much. Tianlong patted Lin Yi's shoulder. It's our family's honor to know you. Xiao Xiao is my girlfriend, so we're family. There's no need to be so clear. Lin Yi smiled. But Uncle Feng, what you need to do is prepare a special off-road vehicle for me. It can fit Xiao Xiao's ice coffin and maintain its temperature. Chapter 1444. All right, Lin Yi nodded. That was one important thing he had to do. After Tianlong left, Lin Yi brought Faubert to level up. Originally, Lin Yi wanted to level up Tianlong as well, but after some thought, he decided against it. After all, Tianlong's strength could be leveled up after he came back. Leveling up now wouldn't be of much use to him. Tianlong had the identity of the Secret Investigation Bureau, so he didn't need to be too strong. Faubert and Lin Yi were old partners, and they had experience breaking through before. This time, it was a walk in the park. But Faubert didn't expect it to be this painful. But after hearing Lin Yi say that Chan Tian gritted his teeth and didn't even make a sound, Faubert gritted his teeth and persevered. Raising Faubert's strength was only from Golden Class late phase peak to Mystic Class early phase, so the time spent was much faster than raising Qintian's strength. Lin Yi completed the task quickly, and the rest was up to Faubert. In the afternoon, Faubert changed his clothes and walked out of the bedroom. Obviously, his clothes were destroyed, but at this moment, Faubert was refreshed, and his body was filled with an indescribable energy. It felt like he was in high spirits. Mystic class. I didn't think that I would be able to stand at Mystic class again. The first thing Faubert said when he saw Lin E was this. Back then, my sect was destroyed, and my wife and daughter were nowhere to be found. I lived on just so that I could take revenge one day. But as time passed, the thought of revenge faded. Only today did I reignite this thought. You won't blame me, right? After all, Faubert told Lin that he had let go of his hatred and would take care of House Chu wholeheartedly. That was why Lin E was helping him. Lin E helped him because he wanted him to protect House Chu, not to take revenge. Only with hatred can there be motivation. Lin E smiled. Your hatred is the same as the destruction of your family. If you really let it go, I won't say anything, but I will look down on you. I believe that one day, you will take revenge with your own hands. Thank you, E. Faubert was touched. He didn't think that Lin E would support him. You're welcome. But let me make a joke. Faubert, before you have absolute strength, you should stay in House Chu and protect Yao Yao and Shu. Unless you surpass me one day, I will let you take revenge. Lin E said this not because he looked down on Faubert, but because he wanted him to find a suitable position. Faubert suddenly became mystic early phase, and it was inevitable that he would feel a sense of self-confidence. This wasn't a good mentality. Even Wu Chentian wanted to take revenge on Uncle Zhu, not to mention Faubert. So Lin, he had to pour cold water on him. He had to let him know that he wasn't the strongest. If he couldn't even beat Lin E, how could he take revenge? I understand. Faubert nodded solemnly. Thank you for the reminder. My mentality was indeed a bit off today. Faubert, naturally, knew why Lin E would say something like this. It was encouragement before, and now it was a warning. Faubert was very grateful. All right, now that Faubert and Shintian are here to protect Yao Yao and Shu, I can leave without worry. Lin E had done what he needed to do. The only thing he was worried about was Ing Ziyu. Thinking of Ziyu, Lin E couldn't help but think of Xiao Xiao. Last time he went to see Ziyu, Lin E brought Xiao Xiao with him. But this time he was alone. He said that he was going to test Ziyu's homework in a week, but because of Xiao Xiao, it was delayed. This was Armadillo's little sister. Before Lin E left, he had to go see her. At least, he had to make sure that she was better. If not, he'd transfer her to Songshan's first junior high and have Zhou Ruoming look after her for him. Delinquent girls had to be watched by gangsters. This time, Lin E drove to Fushan Middle School. Looking at the empty seat, Lin E sighed. Every time he drove this rover out, Lin E couldn't help but think of the days he spent with Xiao Xiao. From hate at first to love later. It wasn't something that was engraved in his heart, but Lin E still remembered it. That love was short, but it was intense. It was a love of life and death. The car stopped at the entrance of Fushan High School. At the entrance of the school, there were a few young men with colorful hair. They were obviously the type of gangsters. I say, hey bro, where did this pretty boy come from? Is he coming to our school to get some girls? Should we spend some money? One of the gangsters couldn't help but drool as he looked at Lin Yi's rover. These people were used to robbing and blackmailing people, and now that there was a fat sheep on their doorstep, they were naturally envious. Spend your ass. Haegu kicked the hooligan in the face and knocked out a few of his front teeth. He couldn't speak with his mouth full of air. Then he quickly ran to the school gate and opened the 2 iron gates. He shouted, Guru Lin, you're here. Please come in. Hey Bro knew that it wasn't easy for him to get his position as the boss of Fushan Middle School. He got it by picking up scraps and scraps. So he became more careful and vigilant, afraid that Zhou Ruoguang would take him down if he didn't do a good job. And so, Hey Bro had memorized Lin Yi's face the first day he took up the position, putting him on the list of people he absolutely couldn't mess with. How could he not be careful when even Zhou Ruoguang was afraid of him? And so, Hey Bro recognized Lin Yi right away. You're that little hey guy, right? Lin Yi said, recognizing Hey Bro. It's me, Hayashi Lin. You still remember me? Hey Bro's face lit up with joy when he heard Lin Yi's words. Hayashi Lin, you're here to see Miss Ziyu, right? Don't worry. After you left, I followed your instructions and made sure Miss Ziyu goes to class every day. I've also arranged for the best students in the school to study with her. You've done well. Lin nodded, feeling that this hey bro was quite understanding. But this guy was also quite amazing, being able to arrange for the students with the best grades to be together. It's what I should do. Hey bro smiled. Chapter 1445. Chapter 1443. Ing Ziyu's changes soon. Lin found Ziyu's class. They should be having English class right now. Lin stood at the window and looked in, satisfied. At least, this class was like a real class. It wasn't as chaotic as the last time he came, no different from the market. It seemed that hey bro didn't lie to him. These were all students with good grades and loved to learn. The next moment, Lin started looking for Ziyu. Soon, Lin found her in the crowd. Ziyu was wearing the school uniform, sitting with Qinshi. Her hairstyle was the same as the one Lin did for her last time. It wasn't weird anymore, and she didn't have any makeup on her face. But Ziyu kept frowning, evidently not understanding what the teacher was saying. Looking at her, Lin found it a bit funny. It seemed that it was really hard on Ziyu. She hadn't studied much before, and her foundation was definitely bad. Cramming at the last minute wouldn't do her any good. But Lin was just letting her experience the atmosphere, not expecting her to do well in one day. Even if she couldn't get into high school, Lin could let her go to Songshan's first school. He didn't even need to show his face. The Miss or Faubert would be able to handle it. Lin didn't go in and disturb her, standing at the door, waiting for the class to end. Not long after, the bell for the end of the class rang. The teacher on the podium also put away the lesson plan, announced the end of the class, and left the classroom. The students in the classroom rarely left the classroom. Some even went to the toilet. The students in this class were all students who loved to study. The high school entrance exam was coming soon, so these people naturally wouldn't waste time. It wasn't easy for the atmosphere in this class to be good, so everyone wanted to study even harder. Speaking of which, they had to thank Ziyu. If it weren't for her, they wouldn't be able to gather together. It was kind of like studying with the princess, except that her grades were really bad. After class, Ziyu didn't leave the classroom. She took out a workbook and asked Chun-Shi seriously, and Chun-Shi explained to her seriously as well. This scene made Lin look at Ziyu in a new light. Lin thought that she was just putting on an act to pass the time. He didn't expect her to really want to study. Lin walked into the classroom and stopped beside Ziyu. Lil, hey, can you stop being so annoying? Coming to see me every day, and I already said I've started studying. You sure are a good dog, and Zoroawan's a wimp too. Why are you guys so obedient? Ziyu didn't raise her head, but she mumbled unhappily. Lin smiled. Lil, Hei's really doing his job. Ziyu paused. It wasn't Lil Hei, it was Linny. Linny bro, you're here. Chun-Shi heard Lin Yi's voice and raised her head to look at Lin Yi, surprised and happy. You're teaching Ziyu questions? Lin Yi looked at the workbook in Ziyu's hands. It was a first-year workbook. It seemed like she started studying in first year. First-year questions? I've never studied before. Ziyu blushed, a little embarrassed. She was a third-year student, after all, and it was embarrassing to be looking at first-year workbooks. You're not bad. I see some changes. Weak basics can be slowly improved. Linny nodded, satisfied. It's just that my basics are too weak, and it's not long before the high school exams. I'm afraid I'll just waste my effort then. Ziyu pouted, a little discouraged. Her change was forced by this tyrant, Lin Yi, but after studying with Chun-Shi for a couple of days, she wasn't that resistant anymore. After all, learning knowledge was better than being a gangster. Ziyu wasn't stupid. She was just a little rebellious during puberty. Plus, the school environment was like this before, so she didn't have the heart to study. But now that she had the conditions, under Lin Yi's pressure, she slowly fell in love with studying. You just need to work hard. You don't have to worry about other things. But if you don't work hard and just want to sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor, then don't blame me for being rude. Lin, he said seriously, I'll arrange for you and Chun-Shi to study in Songshan's first school, but only this once. If you don't get the scholarship after you go, then you'll get beaten up. Ziyu was speechless. She breathed a sigh of relief when she heard what Lin Yi said. It seemed like she didn't need to study hard to get into a high school. But wasn't the condition a little too harsh? Get a scholarship? Get beaten up if you don't get the scholarship? What kind of logic was that? Even the parents of other students wouldn't ask for this, right? Ziyu didn't know what the criteria were, but she knew that only the top few students in a school would be able to get a scholarship. Ziyu felt that it would be very difficult, but thinking about Lin Yi's style, Ziyu felt her but go numb. This guy might really beat her up. Chun Shi, on the other hand, was very happy. She didn't think that she'd be able to get into Songshan's first school as well. This was her dream school. She had some confidence, but she was worried that she wouldn't perform well. But with Lin Yi's promise, there wouldn't be a problem. Did you hear that? Lin Yi asked again, seeing that Ziyu didn't say anything. I heard it. I heard it. I heard it. Ziyu said angrily. You're such a bad person. Why will my brother let you manage me? You're not gentle at all. What's with all the bullshit? Is your butt itching? Lin Yi glared at her. Before your brother comes back, I'm the one watching over you. But hearing Ziyu mention armadillo, Lin Yi felt a little suffocated. There was still no news of him, and he didn't know if he was still in this world. If he told Ziyu about this, how much of a blow would she take? All right, I'll try my best, Ziyu said, unwillingly under Lin Yi's pressure. I'll be going out for a while, half a year at most, a month at shortest. But I'll arrange things for you, Lin Yi said. Chapter 1446. You go compete? I guess so. Lin Yi didn't explain things that clearly. Remember, don't try anything funny. I'll have people keep an eye on you. Got it, Ziyu said helplessly. Lin Yi nodded, relieved. Chun Shi, I'll leave Ziyu's studies to you then. I'll be going first. Okay, don't worry. Bye, Lin Yi big bro. Chun Shi waved at Lin Yi, her face a little red from the excitement. Bye. Ziyu wasn't as happy as Chun Shi. Lin Yi wasn't angry, however. He smiled and quickly left the classroom. Class was about to start, and Lin Yi couldn't stay here any longer. After Lin Yi left, Ziyu stood up and looked outside. After making sure Lin Yi was gone, she smiled and winked at Chun Shi. Tell me, do you like that Lin Yi guy? Why? Chun Shi jumped, her eyes wide. What? What did you say? I say, do you like that tyrant Lin Yi? Ziyu had been in society for years and naturally matured a little. She'd seen things between men and women before, but she'd never tried it herself. She knew quite a bit, though, and started guessing when she saw Chun Shi blushing. I don't like him. Chun Shi didn't really mean what she said. Did she like him? Didn't like him? What did she mean by like? What did she mean by not liking him? Chun Shi didn't think about those kinds of relationships. She just thought that Lin Yi was a nice guy. Not only did he help her mother, but he also helped her a lot. In her heart, she started to worship Lin Yi. She had a good impression of Lin Yi, but she'd never thought about liking him. Look at you, you're blushing and stuttering, and you're calling Lin Yi big bro so intimately. Ziyu giggled. Chun Shi was flustered and didn't know how to explain. She started to speak incoherently. He's older than us. I didn't expect it. Xiao Shi, you've actually fallen in love? Do you need Sis Ziyu to give you some advice? Although I'm not as good as you in learning, I have experience in this area. Ziyu finally found something she was better at than Chun Shi. She patted her chest happily. Huh. Ziyu sis, you've been in love before? Chun Shi paused. I've never eaten pork before, but I've seen a pig run before. Ziyu stuttered. I've seen more than you. Oh, but Lin Yi big bro has a girlfriend already, right? And she's really pretty too. Chun Shi didn't know what to say, but she didn't know if she liked Lin Yi or not. She just went along with Ziyu's words. It's fine if you have a girlfriend. You can go fight for her. Ziyu was a little pissed off at the thought of that girl beside Lin Yi. She was the one who told Lin Yi to spank her last time, and she'd remember that. Wasn't that girl a little too mean? Why didn't she tell Lin Yi to spank her? No, I can't fight with Xiao Xiao sis. She's really nice to me. Chun, she shook her head. How could I do something like that? Nice? That Xiao Xiao girl's so mean. She wants that tyrant Lin Yi to spank me. Ziyu said, Don't worry, with my support, I'll make sure you catch up to your Lin Yi big bro. What am I saying? Chun Shi finally snapped out of her stupor and blushed at what she said. Ziyu sis, I was just talking nonsense. I didn't mean it like that. Don't misunderstand. You accidentally said the truth. I understand. Ziyu said, time for class. I'm going to class. Chunshi blushed and ignored Ziyu. After Lin Yi left Fushan High, he told Faubert about Ziyu and Chunshi. Faubert, naturally, agreed without hesitation. This was nothing to him, and Lin Yi was also a shareholder of Pengzhan Industries. Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief as he thought that the matters before he left were more or less settled. In fact, Lin Yi was most worried about the Miss Shu and Tang Yun's safety. He even thought of forcefully raising their strength to mystic class, but he didn't have a suitable practitioner's arts for them to practice. The art of dragon mastery wasn't suitable for girls, and Lin Yi didn't have any other practitioner's arts. The difference between humans and spirit beasts was that spirit beasts could increase their strength without a practitioner's arts, but humans couldn't. So, Lin Yi decided to slowly search for something suitable for the Miss and the others. This way, he wouldn't have to worry too much. On the way back to the villa, Lin Yi thought about Lingshan and Yuqian. He wondered how they were, if the tomb robbery was over yet. Lin Yi thought about it and decided to give Lingshan a call before he left. After all, the two were good friends now, and he didn't know how long it would be before he came back. He wouldn't be able to help her solve the case. With that thought, Lin Yi dialed Lingshan's number. Lingshan had been hesitating whether she should call Lin Yi or not. She knew that Lin Yi was a doctor, and although Yu Tian was receiving the best treatment in the hospital, Lingshan felt that Lin Yi should be better. Plus, in the tomb, Elder Yu said that General Wei Wu, who was with Lin Yi, was a healer spirit beast. Lingshan didn't know if Elder Yu was bullshitting or not because she knew where that dog came from. It was just a normal dog that Lin Yi had forcefully increased its strength. It wasn't much different from her and Yu Qian. How is this a spirit beast? As a result, she didn't really believe that the spirit beast could heal wounds. But whether she believed it or not, Lingshan felt that she should tell Lin Yi. In her heart, Lin Yi was almost omnipotent. As long as she had something, she could find Lin Yi, and no matter how difficult it was, Lin Yi could solve it easily. But Yu Qian didn't let her tell Lin Yi, and this put her in a difficult spot. On one hand, she didn't want to go back on her promise, but on the other hand, she felt that only Lin Yi could solve this problem. Just when Lingshan was hesitating, her phone rang. Lingshan thought it was a co-worker, so she picked up the phone. Hello? Chapter 1447. Chapter 1445. Lin Yi's rage. Lin Yi? Lingshan stood up abruptly, pleasantly surprised. She wanted to call Lin Yi, but she couldn't make up her mind. But Lin Yi was the one who called her, so she made up her mind. Lin Yi was the one who called her, so it wasn't her fault. It's me. Did you hear what I told you? Lin Yi frowned. Was there something wrong with this song girl? It wasn't the first time he called her, so why was she acting like this? Oh, I heard. What did you say? Lingshan jumped in fright as she stuttered. Lin Yi was speechless. What's going on in that head of yours? I said I was planning on going on a long trip these couple of days to find the fire spirit's fruit for Xiao Xiao. So, I called you. If there's a case in the future, don't come looking for me. I'm nowhere to be found. Ah, you're leaving already. Lingshan wasn't expecting Lin Yi to leave so soon. What about Yu Tian? At that thought, she didn't care anymore. Lin Yi, something happened to Yu Tian. Yu Tian? Something happened? What happened? Lin Yi paused, confused. Yu Tian was heavily injured by House Yu's Yufeng, and his meridians are all severed. He's in Songshan's first hospital right now. Lingshan smiled bitterly. What? Why didn't you say so earlier? Lin Yi stopped the car on the side of the road in shock. What's going on exactly? Why did Yufeng hit him? Speaking of which, it's all because of me, Lingshan said, feeling a little guilty and blaming herself. Because of you? What does it have to do with you? Lin Yi didn't understand how Lingshan got into trouble with Yufeng. House Yu and House Song wanted to unite by marriage, but Grandpa didn't ask for my permission before he married me to Yufeng. Lingshan didn't think much of it before, thinking that Yufeng would back off. After all, it was Lingshan who didn't agree, and Yufeng would give up after a while. Who would have thought that Yu Qian would step in at this moment? Yu Qian was doing this out of goodwill, and Ling Shan really didn't know what to do. Yu Feng, that kid's character is too bad, and I'm about to destroy his family. Don't marry him if you don't want to be a widow. Speaking of House Yu, Lin Yi thought of Ziyu and Armadillo. Huaijuan had already said that behind the international drug gang, there was a shadow of House Yu. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't let them go. Plus, the hatred was already set, and Lin Yi wasn't afraid of House Yu at all. If they didn't like him, then they could send people to deal with him. At first, Lin Yi was worried about House Yu's Earth-class boss Yu, but now it seemed that the old man was a complete coward. Of course, I don't want to marry him. I told him a couple of times, but he wouldn't listen, always bothering me. Ling Shan calmed down after hearing Lin Yi's words. Since Lin Yi had plans to cause trouble for House Yu, then Yu Qian was just an excuse to make Lin Yi even angrier. It wouldn't bring any trouble to Lin Yi, and then Yu Qian saw it and got jealous, so he fought with Yu Feng. Lin Yi guessed. How am I jealous? Isn't it because of you? Ling Shan quickly defended Yu Qian after hearing Lin Yi's words. Because of me? Lin Yi didn't understand. Why did it have to do with him again? Because I like you. Ling Shan felt a little embarrassed after saying that, but she was a straightforward person, so she didn't feel too awkward. Yu Qian knew that I liked you, so he didn't want Yu Feng to waste time, but Yu Feng didn't listen. Ling Shan told Lin Yi what happened, and Lin Yi didn't know what to say. This was a misunderstanding. No wonder Yu Feng hit him so hard. But then again, what Yu Qian did wasn't wrong, and Yu Feng was just too cruel. If Ling Shan really had some sort of relationship with him, then it would be reasonable for him to hit her. But now, Ling Shan didn't like him at all, and he hit Yu Qian. This was beyond what Lin Yi could tolerate. Lin Yi was a very protective person, especially when Yu Qian's business involved himself. Lin Yi couldn't just sit by and watch. I'll go to the hospital now. Wait for me there. With that, Lin Yi drove towards the hospital. Lin Yi was planning to go search for the fruit in 2 days, but with Yu Qian's business, Lin Yi couldn't just leave now. He had to deal with Yu Qian first before leaving. He could take revenge later, but Yu Qian's injuries had to be healed. Lin Yi quickly drove to the hospital, waiting for Ling Shan in the parking lot. Not long after, Ling Shan's cheetah drove over. Lin Yi waved at her, and she stopped beside him. You're here. Ling Shan quickly got out after parking the car and smiled at Lin Yi. She looked a little haggard, much thinner than when she was in the tomb, surprising Lin Yi. I just arrived. I don't know where Yu Qian's room is. Bring me there, Lin Yi said. It's in front of us. Ling Shan nodded, not saying much as she walked with Lin Yi. Why didn't you call me earlier? Lin Yi wondered if Ling Shan wouldn't have contacted him if he didn't call her. I wanted to, but Yu Qian didn't let me tell you. 1. He was afraid that you'd do something irrational and go to House Yu for revenge. And 2. He was afraid that Yushu would be worried. Ling Shan explained, I hesitated a few times, but I couldn't make up my mind. If you didn't call me today, I probably wouldn't have told you. Don't you always look for me when something happens? What's wrong with you this time? Lin Yi frowned. Next time something like this happens, tell me immediately. Oh, I'm sorry. Ling Shan felt wronged. How would I know that you're so capable? Going to House Yu. We've been enemies for a long time. It's not like you don't know that. Lin Yi said, all right, let's not talk about that. Did House Yu do anything? House Yu took advantage of me and complained to my grandpa and Grandpa Chun, saying that I broke the engagement and that Yu Qian said that he and I... Ling Shan stopped there, believing that Lin Yi would understand. Chapter 1448. Lin Yi nodded and asked, when is the meeting of the noble houses? Lin Yi had heard both Fatty Lai and Xu Min talk about it before, saying that House Kong wanted to compete for the chance to become a noble house. But Lin Yi wanted to go to the noble house meeting and cause trouble for House Yu. They've sent out the invitations already, and they're making preparations now. It should be this month or next month, no later than 2 months. Ling Shan said, every noble house meeting takes less than 2 months from the time of preparation to the time of the event. Fortunately, I should be able to make it in time. I'll go look for the fire spirit's fruit and find an opportunity to break through. Lin Yi sighed. Once I break through to Earth class, I can turn you and Yu Bro into Earth class. At that time, I'll turn the noble house meeting into a memorial for House Yu. Lin, he was only mystic mid-phase peak, and while it was more than enough to deal with Yufeng, he didn't have full confidence against Shueishing. After all, Shueishing was a mystic late-phase peak, and he heard that Shueishing's brother was an Earth-class early phase. He had entered the hidden House Yu to train, but when House Yu was in danger, he couldn't just stand by and do nothing. So if Lin wanted to win, he had to increase his strength. He didn't know what position that Elder Yu he met in the tomb had in the hidden House Yu. And did he know Shueishing's brother? But that didn't matter. Even if that Elder Yu helped, Lin wasn't afraid of him. He could scare him away when he was still mystic, and if he was in Earth class, then Elder Yu would probably run away. Lingshan couldn't help but widen her mouth in shock after hearing the words. From Lin Yi's words, Lin Yi was preparing to cause a scene in the Noble House meeting, but this news wasn't as shocking as the previous one. Lin Yi was going to turn her and Yutian into Earth class. Lingshan felt like she was daydreaming, wasn't she? In the blink of an eye, Earth class wasn't a dream anymore. It's so close now. Once upon a time, Lingshan had dreamt of becoming a golden class late phase peak. That was something that she couldn't even dream of, but now, all of this was because of Lin Yi. If he didn't know Lin Yi, wouldn't he still be an early phase golden class master? Lingshan couldn't help but blush as she thought back to the first time she met Lin Yi, and how people misunderstood her as helping Lin Yi. But if she could go back in time, Lingshan thought that she'd admit to it right there and then. What do you think? Lingshan felt that if Lin Yi had brought it up, she might have actually agreed. Lingshan's eyes flashed with a strange, alluring light as she bit her lips and looked at Lin Yi lovingly, her face abnormally red. Lin Yi, you're so good to me. Are you horny? Lin Yi jumped. He didn't know what was going on with Lingshan, but why did she look like she was horny? They were talking about serious business. Why did this happen all of a sudden? Lingshan was a little annoyed, blaming Lin Yi for not understanding the situation. This guy seemed to be infatuated sometimes, but he was also an idiot at other times. For Xiao, he'd go to a dangerous place like the ancient tomb, and he'd go even further to search for the fire spirit's fruit. He didn't even look at her. Nope. How am I supposed to horny if you don't get naked? Lingshan said to Lin Yi, let's go see Yutian Bro first. Lin Yi didn't continue on the topic. Towards Lingshan, Lin Yi didn't know what he felt. If he said he liked her, it was naturally a little. He wasn't a plant or a tree. He couldn't be emotionless. He'd been with Lingshan a lot of things, and their relationship had gone from being enemies at the start to being weird and subtle. What made Lin Yi feel helpless was that Lingshan seemed to have set her sights on him, just because he'd seen her naked once, as if he was the only one she could marry. Lingshan didn't seem like a conservative person, but that was exactly what she was. But it was impossible for Lin Yi to fall in love with her. Because of his lust for beauties, Lin Yi only had a good impression of her, but it'd be troublesome once it turned into action. But it seemed like there was a lot of trouble right now. Lingshan gritted her teeth at Lin Yi's avoidance of the topic, but there was nothing she could do. This was the first time she'd fallen for a man, and as she got to know him, she became more and more infatuated with him. This man had too many secrets, and he was abnormally strong. He was just right for her. Lin, he wasn't just a little stronger than her. He was way, way stronger. Although Lin, he was only mystic mid-phase peak right now, Lingshan believed that Lin, he would achieve even greater things in the future. If Lin, he didn't have the confidence, he wouldn't have said something like turning the noble house meeting in a house Yu's death anniversary. Out of all the noble houses in the common world, who would dare to say that they wanted to destroy House Yu? Even the hidden houses wouldn't dare say something like that, let alone normal houses. Everyone knew that House Yu had the support of the hidden House Yu, and the hidden House Yu was one of the strongest of the hidden houses. Who would dare go against them? But Lin, he just had to do it, and he did it, and he was still living so carefreely after doing it. Lingshan couldn't help but sigh. It was really frustrating to compare oneself to another. Judging from Lin Yi's tone, Xie Yufeng had suffered a lot from Lin Yi in school, but he was still so arrogant in front of Yutian. If she'd known this would happen, she would have asked Lin to chase you foam away first, and this wouldn't have happened. The two walked side by side to the hospital, and they saw a familiar face. Guan Exine. Lin Yi saw Guan Exine first and greeted her with a smile. She was a shy girl he'd met when he first came to Songshan, and Lin Yi had a good impression of her. After that, because of Xiumin, Lin Yi and Guan Exine got closer. Chapter 1449. Guan Exine knew Lingshan as well, but she didn't have a good impression of the girl. She thought that there was something wrong with the girl's style, helping Lin Yi in the hospital in broad daylight. Guan Exine didn't believe that Lin Yi was that kind of person, but the rumors in the hospital were spreading like wildfire, as if it were true. She'd met Lingshan when she was kidnapped by the assassin who wanted to kill Lu Boijia, but she'd made a report in a hurry. They didn't have much of a relationship, but she knew that Lingshan was from House Song and that she was close to Huijun Bro. She seemed to be his junior. Hello, Officer Song. Guan Exine didn't like her, but she was a careful girl. Since Lingshan was with Lin Yi, Guan Exine couldn't just ignore Lingshan. It had embarrassed Lin Yi, and so she greeted Lingshan. Guan Exine, is it? I remember you. Lingshan nodded with a smile. Lingshan was no longer in the mood to be jealous of Lin Yi's beautiful girls. She couldn't be jealous anymore. There were too many of them. She just hoped that Lin Yi would pay more attention to her. Being from a big house, Lingshan didn't care too much about stuff like that. This was one of the reasons why she was able to accept it. Lin Yi, why are you here? Are you sick, or are you here to visit a friend? Guan Exine asked. I'm here to visit a friend. Lin Yi said. How have you been? I haven't been to your house in a while. Is Grandpa Guan doing well? Grandpa is doing well. Guan Exine felt a little sad at the mention of her grandpa. Her grandpa could tell that Lin Yi wasn't going to be his disciple, nor was he going to be House Guan's grandson-in-law. However, Guan Xiumin didn't want to leave without a successor, and so he wanted to send Guan Exine to an old friend's place to learn about Eastern medicine. That way, House Guan would have a successor. But Guan Exine didn't want to leave. She didn't feel like a doctor. She felt that being a nurse was better than being a doctor. At home, she helped Xiumin get medicine and brew it. She was familiar with it, but she didn't have the confidence to save lives. Secondly, she'd have to leave Songshan. Even though Lin Yi had clearly rejected the idea of becoming House Guan's grandson-in-law, Guan Exine only wanted to quietly protect her own happiness. She wanted to be able to silently pay attention and miss Lin Yi. Even if they didn't see each other often, they were still in the same city, so there were still chances to see each other occasionally. Just like now, the two of them were meeting each other. Guan Exine didn't want to leave, but she didn't want to disappoint her grandpa either. She knew that her grandpa had spent his entire life studying medicine, and he wanted his descendants to have achievements in this field as well. Guan Exine, however, was only a normal nurse, and that was disappointing. Xiumin didn't say much about it, because he loved Guan Exine, but after meeting Lin Yi and talking to him, he felt that it was time for his granddaughter to learn something. Otherwise, the gap between Lin Yi and Guan Exine would only grow bigger and bigger, and the distance between them would only grow bigger and bigger. Xiumin knew what Guan Exine was thinking, and he wanted to make Guan Exine and Lin Yi together. That was why he made this decision and told Guan Exine about it. But Guan Exine felt that no matter what she did, Lin Yi wouldn't choose her. Lin Yi already had his lover, and she'd met her before. She was a beautiful and youthful girl, so why would she want to ruin their relationship? As for studying, Guan Exine really didn't think that she was cut out for it, so she was conflicted. Now that she saw Lin Yi, she suddenly had the urge to talk to him. All right then, I'll go see my friend first, and I'll visit Grandpa Guan in the next 2 days. Lin Yi was about to leave, so he naturally had to pay Xiumin a visit. He'd also tell Fatty Lai about the medicine company. Lin Yi, are you free later? Guan Exine bit her lips and finally opened her mouth to ask. She wasn't someone who liked to take the initiative, but this was an important matter, so she wanted to discuss it with Lin Yi and see what Lin Yi thought. No matter what Lin Yi said, she would listen to Lin Yi. Almost why? Is there something you need? Lin Yi asked. I have something I need your help with. Guan Xin said carefully. Sure, I'll call you when I'm done here. In Lin Yi's impression, Guan Xin usually didn't look for him on her own. Now that she was looking for him, it must be something important. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't reject her. Guan Xin nodded happily when she saw that Lin Yi agreed, her face a little red from excitement. Then I'll wait for your call. Huh, all right. Lin Yi smiled. Ling Shan, on the other hand, was a little unhappy as they walked through the door. Why was Guan Xin blushing? Lin Yi didn't say that she was in heat, but why did she have to be in heat when it came to her? Ling Shan wasn't happy at all. Why was her treatment so different from others? Yu Qian's room was the innermost room on the 3rd floor. Yu Qian purposely chose this position to not attract attention. He purposely hid the news of his injury, and only his grandpa and some noble houses knew about it. His other friends didn't know about it. Usually, no one came to visit Yu Qian except for Ling Shan. So when Ling Shan pushed the door open, Chen Yu Qian naturally thought that it was Ling Shan who came to visit him because the nurse and doctor had just left. Ling Shan, you're here again? Didn't I say that you're busy with your case? You don't need to come visit me. I'm an adult. I can take care of myself. It's fine, Yu Qian said directly. Yu Qian bro, why did you hide it from me? If I didn't come to the hospital to visit a friend and met Ling Shan, I wouldn't know about it. Lin Yi cleverly avoided Ling Shan's responsibility, saying that it was a coincidence that he came here, and that Ling Shan wasn't the one who snitched on him. Ling Shan looked at Lin Yi gratefully. She didn't think that he'd be so nice to her. Lin Yi, you're here. Yu Qian paused and felt a little embarrassed. I'm sorry to disappoint you. You spent so much effort to help me get stronger, but now I'm a cripple. You wasted your effort. Chapter 1450. Lin Yi, I knew you would say that. Yu Qian couldn't help but smile bitterly. I didn't want Ling Shan to tell you, because I didn't want you to act rashly and take revenge for me. You have to know that House Yu doesn't only have Yu Feng. There's also the head of House Yu, Shueixing, who's a mystic late phase peak. There's also a big brother who entered the hidden noble house, and he's an earth class early phase. If you go, I'm afraid. Besides, the noble houses have their own rules. The noble house meeting is about to begin, and the conflicts between the noble houses must be resolved during the meeting. The conflict between House Chun and House Yu must be resolved through House Chen's people. If you go, Lin Yi, you won't have a legitimate reason to do so, and it'll make House Chen's position even more awkward. Lin Yi froze. He didn't know that there was such a rule in the noble house meeting. Although Lin Yi had a certain understanding of a noble house meeting, he only heard it from Fatty Lai, Guan Xiumin, and the others. However, these people were just outsiders, and they didn't have the qualifications to participate in the noble house meeting, so their knowledge was limited. However, Lin Yi didn't even think about taking revenge for Yu Qian personally. He wanted Yu Qian to do it himself. Who said I'm going to do it for you? Lin Yi smiled and asked back. Yu Qian froze. He didn't expect Lin Yi to say this. Didn't you say that? I can't let this go. It's true that I can't let this go. But I'm not the one doing it. You're the one doing it. Lin Yi said, don't tell me that you, as a man, don't want to avenge yourself with your own hands. Yes. Yu Qian didn't hide it. He gritted his teeth and said this word. But then he smiled bitterly. Lin Yi, you don't know my current situation, do you? Many of my meridians are broken. Even if I recover, I'll only be paralyzed if you raise my strength to mystic early phase. I won't be able to use half of my strength. Lin Yi smiled. Why are you so lacking in confidence? You're not as optimistic as your sister. What do you mean? Yu Qian froze. General Wei Wu was beaten by Yu Kuan to the point that he was on his last breath. Not to mention his meridians, even his internal organs were displaced. Didn't he become a golden class? Oh, a mystic class dog? Lin Yi said, back then, your sister told Yao Yao that I could definitely cure General Wei Wu. What was the result? Yu Qian wasn't stupid. Naturally, he knew that Lin Yi knew medicine. He had heard from his sister and Ling Shan that Lin Yi's medical skills were superb, but he didn't expect Lin Yi to be able to repair meridians. After all, repairing meridians was House Sun's specialty. Even the hidden houses couldn't do it. They had to rely on meridian opening pills to repair damaged meridians. How could he expect Lin Yi to be able to repair meridians? So, from Yuqian's point of view, Lin Yi was only skilled in medicine and could raise a person's strength. As for repairing meridians, it was impossible. He thought that even if he found Lin Yi, it would only be faster than the hospital. But now, Lin Yi's words were clear. He should be able to repair meridians. You mean, you can repair the damaged meridians in my body? Yuqian widened his eyes in disbelief as he looked at Lin Yi. Really? You're not joking? One couldn't blame Qin Yutian for being agitated. He had been living in low spirits for the past few days. Although it had been some time, and he had thought through a lot of things, no matter who it was, they wouldn't be able to accept it, but there was nothing they could do. But now, Lin Yi told him that he could repair meridians. Yuqian's dead heart was burning up again. Yes, I specialize in repairing damaged meridians. Lin Yi nodded and joked. Why don't you say that you can repair spaceships? Yuqian was amused by Lin Yi's words. It was the first joke he made in a while. That, I think I can. Lin Yi thought that since his energy was omnipotent, could he repair spaceships too? But it was just a thought. Huh. Yuqian laughed. Lin Yi, why do I feel like you're omnipotent? I finally know why Lingshan likes you. If I were a woman, I'd marry you too. You're a treasure bowl. Huh. Lin Yi didn't continue the topic. I'll heal your meridians and restore your strength. But as for revenge, we'll talk about it when I come back. I'm not in a hurry. Yuqian wasn't a reckless man. How could he go to Yufeng for revenge? Otherwise, he wouldn't have kept it a secret from Lin Yi. He was afraid that Lin Yi would act on impulse. As for this injury, it wasn't because Yuqian was impulsive. It was because he didn't expect Yufeng to act so impulsively. There's still some time before the meeting of the noble houses. I can wait. If it doesn't work this time, I'll wait for the next time. It's never too late for revenge. It's good that you think like that. Lin Yi nodded. At the end of the day, it's because we're not strong enough. If I were an Earth class now, why would I be afraid of Houseu? But now I'm afraid. Just like you said, Houseu has a mystic late phase peak master and a hidden Earth class early phase master. These two are our enemies. If you want to kill Yufeng, it's impossible that they won't stop you. What I need to do is to clear the obstacles for you. You mean, you want to destroy Houseu? Yuqian was stunned after hearing Lin Yi's words. Yuqian thought that after Lin Yi helped him increase his strength, he would challenge Yufeng at the meeting of the noble houses and defeat him fair and square. He didn't expect that Lin Yi would want to destroy their entire family. Yeah, since we're going to do it, we shouldn't leave any loose ends. Lin Yi said. So this time, searching for the fire spirit's fruit might be an opportunity for me to break through. When I come back and break through to Earth class, you'll all be Earth class masters. With you guys by my side, what's Houseu? Yeah, Yuqian was infected by Lin Yi's heroism. With 3 Earth class masters, even Houseu's boss wouldn't be able to do anything. Thinking about the limelight at the meeting of the noble houses, Yuqian felt his blood pumping. It sounded like a fairy tale, but Lin Yi had been through a lot of fairy tales before, wasn't it? Being able to increase one's strength and repair one's meridians. Which of these were not fantasies before he had seen them? Lingshan felt dizzy as well. She felt that she liked Lin Yi more and more. Chapter 1451. I'm healed. My strength recovered too. Qin Yuqian couldn't even dream that he would go from a bedridden cripple to a normal person who could walk around as he pleased in such a short amount of time. Yeah, what else do you want? Lin Yi nodded and said matter-of-factly. Yuqian's injury looked heavy, but it wasn't as heavy as General Wei Wu's. At most, it was similar to Qin Tian's, so Lin Yi healed him quickly. Yuqian's meridians were healed, so naturally his strength returned. Yuqian didn't lose much of his strength this time. He didn't even fight Yufeng, so he didn't lose any of his strength. It was just that his meridians were injured, so his strength was suppressed. This was different from the time when Lin Yi broke all his meridians. Lin Yi compressed all the qi in his body and sent it out, but Yuqian didn't. So this treatment was very short. It only lasted for a few hours, and Qin Yuqian was back to normal. Lingshan was already used to Lin Yi's miraculousness. She wasn't shocked anymore, so she said, I think you've recovered too. See, I told Lin Yi earlier, he's omnipotent. I didn't want to cause trouble for Lin Yi. I didn't expect my strength to recover so easily. Yu Qian smiled bitterly as he touched his broken legs. Yu Qian smiled bitterly as he touched his broken legs. He didn't feel any discomfort at all. The other noble houses all know about your injury, right? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, basically, with House Yu's publicity, I became a laughing stock. Yu Qian said embarrassedly, but Lin Yi, I really don't have that kind of feelings for Lingshan anymore. Don't misunderstand, I know. That girl's a bit of an idiot. It's normal for you to lose interest in her. Lin Yi joked with a smile. Lingshan wanted to kill Lin Yi. Who was the idiot? Just look at me like a fool, okay? Huh? Yu Qian couldn't help but laugh, but shut his mouth when he saw Lingshan's dark face. Since that's the case, there's no hurry to spread the news of your recovery. When the time comes, we'll launch a counterattack at the aristocratic family's meeting to achieve a shocking effect. Lin Yi said, otherwise, it won't be good for them to be on guard. But in this case, I'll have to trouble your old man and let him be sad for a while. I know what's important. Don't worry. Just wait until the moment I appear in the aristocratic family assembly. Grandpa will be happy. Yu Qian knew the importance of the matter and wasn't in a rush to tell his grandpa. Otherwise, if his grandpa's expression changed and House Yu found out, the plan would be disrupted. I'll go first. Guan Xin has something to talk to me about. Lin Yi went to find Guan Xin after dealing with Yu Qian's matter. Then I'll keep pretending to be sick in the room? Yu Qian asked. And I'll tell Guan Xion's grandpa about this. You can stay here until I come back. It won't affect your training, Lin Yi said. Right. Speaking of training, I have something I want to ask you. Lingshan didn't want to dwell on Guan Xion's problem. She took the initiative to ignore Guan Xian. What is it? Lin Yi was about to leave the room when he heard Lingshan's words. He stopped in his tracks. It's about the progress of my training. After I reached Mystic early phase, I've been busy with cases, but I didn't give up on training even when I was resting. I used every minute and second to train, but it seems like there's no progress at all. Lingshan asked curiously. I wasn't Mystic before, and I didn't know about these things. So I wanted to ask, is it really that hard to train after Mystic? After Mystic, it's very hard to increase your strength by even a little bit. That's true, and the chi here is very thin. It's normal for you to make little progress, Lin Yi said. But why do I feel like there's no effect at all? When I was gold in class, I would feel a little effect every time I trained, Lingshan said, confused. No effect at all? Lin Yi paused. Maybe it's too slow, and you can't feel it? After all, the difference between Mystic and Golden class is very big. Lin Yi didn't train in the Jade space at the very beginning, and the rest of his time was spent in the Jade space. He wasn't sure if Mystic class could be trained in this kind of environment. After all, the chi here was too thin, and it was normal for training to be slow. Maybe so. Lingshan nodded helplessly. Lin Yi didn't think much of what Lingshan said, and called Guan Xian as soon as he left the room. Lin Yi? Guan Xian was overjoyed when she received Lin Yi's call. You're done with work? Yeah, where are you? Still in the hospital? Lin Yi looked at the time. It was already 7 at night, and Guan Xian should have gotten off work by now. Yeah, I'm at the hospital, working overtime. You're at the hospital too? Guan Xian had an appointment with Lin Yi, so naturally, she didn't leave the hospital. I'm here too, where are you? I'll go look for you. Lin Yi asked. It's okay, I'll pack my stuff. Let's meet at the hospital entrance? Guan Xian asked. Sure, let's meet at the parking lot in front of the hospital. My car's parked there, Lin Yi said. 10 minutes later, Lin Yi saw Guan Xian running towards him for the parking lot. Guan Xian had already changed out of her nurse uniform and was wearing a very quiet shirt. Her hair was tied up casually behind her head, and she looked like a student who was doing her internship at the hospital. You look very young, don't you? Lin Yi smiled. I'm not that old to begin with. Guan Xian knew Lin Yi's age, and that she was a bit older than Lin Yi. So when she dressed up, she didn't know that Lin Yi was older than Guan Xian. Huh, you haven't eaten yet, right? Let me treat you to dinner. Lin Yi looked at Guan Xian's abdomen and guessed that she hadn't eaten. Lin Yi was a doctor, and his observation skills were sharper. Guan Xian might have eaten, but not very much. Chapter 1452. Since Lin Yi didn't know about it, Guan Xian decided to keep it as her little secret. What do you want to eat? I don't even dare to pick a random restaurant in front of chef like you. It'll be hard on you if the food doesn't taste good. Lin Yi asked with a smile after he invited Guan Xian into the car. Whatever. I'm not that picky. The food in the hospital's cafeteria isn't that good, but you still have to eat? Guan Xian smiled. Just pick a random restaurant? It was Lin Yi's first time inviting Guan Xian to a meal. It wasn't appropriate to go to a bad place. He thought about it and decided to go to Pengzhan Business Hotel. It was more secluded, and it was considered his family's turf. It wasn't convenient. There's no need for such a good place, right? Guan Xian saw that Lin Yi had parked the car in the hotel's parking lot, and she felt that it was too luxurious. She was born in a wealthy family, but she didn't have the habit of luxury. She was better than Miss in this aspect. Miss wasn't as delicate as those other girls, but she didn't have much of a concept when it came to spending money. It's Yao Yao's hotel. I have a VIP card here, so it's not too expensive, Lin Yi explained. Oh, Guan Xian knew who Meng Yao was. She knew that she was the girl Lin Yi was protecting in the bank. To be honest, Guan Xian was a little envious of her. Even if she wasn't Lin Yi's girlfriend, she could at least spend time with Lin Yi. The two asked for a small room, and after ordering a few dishes, Lin Yi asked, Xian, is there something important that you want to talk to me about? Yeah, there's something. I can't make up my mind, so I'd like you to give me some advice. Guan Xian blushed, embarrassed. It won't cause you any trouble, will it? It's nothing. It's normal for friends to discuss things. What's the matter? Just say it. I'll see if I can give you some advice. Lin Yi agreed readily. It's like this. Grandpa wants me to learn medicine from his friend, but it's not something I like. I don't think I'm cut out to be a doctor. I've always wanted to be a nurse since I was young, and whenever Grandpa treats people, I'd help him get the medicine and boil it. My control of the heat and the weight was always perfect, and Grandpa even said that I was born to be a doctor, but it's been so many years I've grown up, and I think I still like to get the medicine and boil it, and I still like being a nurse. Guan Xian started talking about her own life. I don't want to disappoint Grandpa, but I'm not cut out for it. It's about that. To be honest, Lin Yi didn't really want to get involved in what Guan Xian was talking about. After all, it was related to Xu Eming's wishes, and Lin Yi didn't want Guan Xian to go against him. Yeah, I'm in a bit of pickle. What do you think I should do, Lin Yi? Guan Xian looked at Lin Yi with a headache. You like to get the medicine and boil it. What if you just want to study the properties of Chinese medicine? Would you like that? Lin Yi was also having a headache, but he came up with a compromise after thinking about it. Of course I'd like that. Guan Xian nodded. I've always liked to help Grandpa make medicine since I was young. I don't know why, but every time I do it, I feel a sense of familiarity. Maybe it's because I was born in a house that smelled like Chinese medicine. Then, I suggest you tell Grandpa Guan that you're only studying the properties of Chinese medicine and not a doctor. That way, you'll only need to prescribe the right medicine for certain illnesses, and you won't need to go see a doctor yourself. Lin Yi said. Would this suggestion be of any help to you? Guan Xian's eyes lit up at Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi's suggestion was indeed a good idea. If she followed Lin Yi's suggestion, it would be her interest and in the future. Most importantly, she might even be able to help Lin Yi's company. Didn't Lin Yi's company research medicine? Guan Xian was excited at the thought. But if she left, she wouldn't be able to see Lin Yi for a while, and that made her a little disappointed. Then I'll tell Grandpa this when I get back. Guan Xian had already accepted Lin Yi's suggestion, and it was up to her grandpa to agree. Haha, I think it's possible. Lin Yi smiled. If I have time, you can learn from me, but I don't have the time to teach you systematically. Guan Xian's heart was pounding when she heard the first half of Lin Yi's sentence, but she was disappointed when she heard the second half. Yeah, where would Lin Yi find the time to teach her? Then can I call you if there's something I don't know? But Lin Yi's words ignited a glimmer of hope in Guan Xian's heart. Although she couldn't see Lin Yi often, if she could call Lin Yi once in a while, it would make her feel at ease. Of course, no need to be so polite with me. Lin Yi smiled. It's not like you won't come back when you're studying. I'll test you myself when we meet and see how you're doing. Okay, don't worry, I'll work hard. Guan Xian's burden was resolved. It was like a huge rock had been lifted off her shoulders. She felt a lot more relaxed. After dinner, Lin Yi drove Guan Xian back to Guan Xuemin's place. It was already late, and Lin Yi planned to visit another day, but Guan Xian mentioned that Lin Yi drove her back, so Guan Xuemin insisted on Lin Yi's visit. Since he couldn't refuse, Lin Yi could only follow Guan Xian into the house. It's been a while. Guan Xuemin was very happy to see Lin Yi. Every time he had a medical discussion with Lin Yi, Guan Xuemin would benefit a lot from it. He'd long since treated Lin Yi as a good teacher and a good friend. Yeah, Grandpa Guan, I've been a bit busy lately, so I haven't been able to visit. Sorry about that, Lin Yi said apologetically. When he first came to Songsan, Guan Xuemin had helped him a lot, and Lin Yi had always remembered that. Without Guan Xuemin, Lin Yi's company wouldn't have been established so quickly. It's nothing. You have a lot of things to do, and I know that. Guan Xuemin nodded. How's Xiao Xiao's situation? Xuemin had seen Xiao Xiao's sickness. There was nothing he could do about it, and Xuemin knew that Lin Yi had been busy with Xiao Xiao's situation. Chapter 1453. Guan Xian didn't think that Lin Yi would be leaving as well. That meant that she wouldn't be able to say goodbye to Lin Yi when she left. Her initial excitement turned into disappointment. What's wrong, Xian? Are you sad that Lil Yi is leaving? Guan Xuemin joked. I. Guan Xian blushed, embarrassed. I'm not. I'm just a little surprised. I'm just joking. What do you think, Xian? Have you thought about what I told you? You're probably going to discuss it with Lily today, right? Guan Xuemin waved his hand. He knew that his granddaughter was shy. What's the decision? Grandpa, I discussed it with Lin Yi, and this is what we've decided. Guan Xian told Guan Xuemin about Lin Yi's suggestion. With Guan Xuemin's intelligence, it was easy for him to understand his granddaughter's intentions. Studying medicine meant that she could go to Lin Yi's company to help Lin Yi. Guan Xuemin didn't know what to do with his granddaughter, but it was still better than being a nurse. All right, it's decided then, Guan Xuemin nodded. I'll talk to my old friend about this. He wants to take in a disciple to inherit his legacy before he enters that place. My old friend happens to specialize in medicine as well, so Xinxin's request is in line with his. Although Guan Xuemin's old friend was an expert in medicine, he was also skilled in other things like diagnosis and acupuncture. Guan Xian obviously wouldn't be able to learn that. Okay, thank you, Grandpa. Guan Xian was very happy to hear her grandpa agree. Lin Yi, on the other hand, asked curiously, that place? What kind of place is that? I'm not too sure about the specifics. This old friend of mine is a hermit among the common people. I heard that a sect that specializes in alchemy has taken a fancy to him and wants to recruit him. As for the specifics, it's a secret, so I didn't ask for details, Guan Xuemin said. Is that so? Since it was a secret, Lin Yi didn't plan to ask further. After all, Guan Xuemin didn't know. The two of them chatted about some medical matters before Lin Yi got up to leave. It was already very late, and Lin Yi couldn't stay there for too long. Missy had already sent him a few text messages asking when he would be back. While the aristocratic families were preparing for the aristocratic family meeting, all the hidden aristocratic families, sects, as long as they had the qualifications, would receive a blue letter with the symbol of an ice flower printed on it. For a time, all the hidden aristocratic families, sects, and gangs took action. In the hidden house, the head of the house, Yu Shaochun, held the letter in his hands with a serious expression. He spoke to Yu Lu. I'm going to see father immediately. I'll let him decide on this. Yu Lu paused. The head of house, Yu, was always in isolation, and this was something everyone in the hidden house knew about. Even the head of the house, Yu Xiaochun, wouldn't disturb him on small matters, unless it was something big. But now it was clear that something big had happened. Yulu didn't know what the letter meant, but the content was definitely something big. What are you spacing out for? Get the car ready. Yu Xiaochun said. Yes. Yulu nodded and went to prepare the car. The place where the head of house Yu was in isolation was at the peak of a mountain outside of the Yu castle. The road to the peak was a mountain road that house Yu had built themselves. Even a practitioner like Yu Xiaochun could go up without a car, but it wasn't as convenient as a car. Soon, Yulu prepared the car and drove Yu Xiaochun up the mountain. How's Yu whooshing? Anything? Yu Xiaochun asked. No, he's 7, 8, and I took turns to monitor him, but we didn't find anything out of the ordinary. We didn't find anything special in his room, either. Yulu said. Could it be that he really came back empty-handed? Yu Xiaochun didn't trust Yu Huoxing, but he trusted Yulu and the others. These were all loyal disciples of House Yu, and they'd grown up in House Yu since young. That's hard to say. We'll monitor him for a few more days. Yulu said. With a car, they arrived at the top of the mountain very quickly. However, just as they reached the top of the mountain, they were stopped by a black-clothed man who suddenly appeared. This person casually tapped his finger and blocked the speeding jeep in front of him. It was as simple as pushing a toy car. Senior brother Yu Yi, the head of the house, is here. Yu Lu quickly stopped the car and spoke to the person who stopped them. This person was Yu Yi, the strongest disciple of House Yu. He was the second Sky class after the head of House Yu. He was only Sky class early phase, but he was already at the top of the world. But even so, when he heard that it was Yu Xiaochun in the car, his face turned serious, and he cupped his fist. It's the head of the house. I apologize for the offense. Please forgive me, head of the house. It's nothing. You've protected father's safety, and I'm very happy for that. Xiaochun got off the car and nodded to Yu Yi. From this, one could see that the hidden house Yu was completely different from the hidden house Xiao. Xiaochun's position in the hidden house Yu had already reached a point where he had complete control over everything. The head of house Yu basically didn't care about the matters of the house anymore, and even a master like Yu, he had to treat him with respect. It's my duty, Yui said quickly. Is father in isolation? I have something important to see him about. Xiaochun asked. The head of the house just came out yesterday and hasn't started yet. Please, head of the house. Yu said with a welcoming gesture. Head of the house, I'll wait here. Yu Lu knew the rules, other than the direct disciples of House Yu. Only Yu, he could get close to Elder Yu's mountain peak. Naturally, he wouldn't follow him. Xiaochun nodded and followed Yu into a place that looked like a cave, but it was a stone door with a fingerprint lock. As the head of House Yu, Xiaochun naturally knew the password. After entering it, he walked in with familiarity. The cave didn't look like much from the outside, but it was a whole new world inside. The construction inside was very meticulous, and it had a retro feel to it. They came to the innermost room, and this was where Xiaochun's father, the head of House Yu, lived. Chapter 1454. It's Xiaochun, right? Did something important happen? Coming to see me all of a sudden? Old Yu asked as Xiaochun and Yu walked in. Father, I do have something important to discuss with you, Xiaochun said solemnly. With that, he looked at Yu Yi. Yu Yi had always been by his father's side, so Xiaochun didn't know if he could trust him or not. Go ahead, Yu Yi is someone I trust. He'll be a great help to you in the future. Elder Yu saw through Yu Xiaochun's intentions and waved his hand. Xiaochun nodded and passed the letter to his father. Father, the Ice Palace has sent a letter. The Ice Palace's test is starting soon. Oh, the Ice Palace's trial is starting again? Even someone as calm as Elder Yu had a look of surprise on his face after hearing Yu Xiaochun's words. He took a deep breath and opened the letter, reading it quickly. This is our chance to hide House Yu. I didn't think that the Ice Palace's test would start again. When I was young, I participated in the Ice Palace's test once, and you weren't around then. After that, I became an outer disciple of the Ice Palace, and it's been 5 years, and I've learned a lot. Xiaochun naturally knew what his father had been through when he was young, and he knew what the Ice Palace's test was for. The Ice Palace's trial was an invitation sent out by one of the ancient sects, the Ice Palace. It was a trial set up for the young experts. After the trial, the ones who won would get the chance to stay in the Ice Palace and become an outer sect disciple. Once they became an outer sect disciple, their future would be limitless. Even if it was just an outer disciple, it was more than enough. Outer disciples, as the name suggested, meant that they could stay in the Ice Palace to train, but they didn't have a master to guide them. These people could get some spiritual medicine from time to time, but other than training, they had to take on the daily chores of the Ice Palace, such as fetching water, chopping firewood, patrolling the mountains, cleaning, cooking, and so on. The people of the Ice Palace would also guide these outer disciples from time to time. These outer sect disciples, each of them had to cultivate for 5 years. After 5 years, unless there was a particularly talented disciple who could stay and become an inner sect disciple, the others would have to leave. But even if it was only 5 years, the chi in the Ice Palace wasn't something a normal place could compare to. Old Ancestor Yu's rise started in those 5 years, turning him from a golden class late phase peak to a mystic late phase peak in 5 years. Although this kind of cultivation speed wasn't the fastest, it was still outstanding because there were people who had broken through to the Earth rank. Of course, if Old Yu knew how long Lingshan took to break through from golden class early phase, peak to mystic class early phase, he'd probably be pissed to death. Yes, father. That's why I came to see you as soon as I got the letter, Xiaoqin said. The requirements have been raised, but our house, you still qualified. The requirements have been raised from golden class mid-phase to mystic class early phase, and the deposit has been raised to 100 million as well. Old Yu said, but that's not a big deal. Yes, but the letter also mentioned that there are 2 types of rewards. Which one should we choose? Xiaoqin nodded. The first type was already mentioned by Old Yu, and that was to become an outer disciple of the Ice Palace. They'd train in the Ice Palace for 5 years, and they'd receive some of the Ice Palace's elixirs and training guidance. But how much they could learn would depend on themselves. The second type of reward was the right to exchange for treasures. To put it bluntly, if you wanted something and the Ice Palace happened to have it, then you could use treasures or money of equivalent value to exchange for it. But couldn't they just exchange it? Why did they have to pay 100 million and pass the test to exchange? Wasn't that a little harsh? In fact, it was that harsh. You may have a heaven and earth treasure in your hands, but this kind of heaven and earth treasure may not be of any use to your family. It's just a priceless treasure in your hands. It won't be easy for you to exchange it for the heaven and earth treasure you want. Similarly, if you have money in your hands, you can't buy the heavenly treasures that you want so easily. That's why they're so domineering. If you want to trade, you have to follow their rules. Of course, one shouldn't underestimate this trading right. If the winner didn't choose to stay in the Ice Palace as an outer disciple, then they'd get a trading right. They could trade with the Ice Palace for what they wanted, and it was a permanent deal. If they didn't want it, they could trade it later. But the thing you wanted to trade had to be agreed to by the Ice Palace as well. If you wanted something that the Ice Palace needed as well, then they wouldn't give it to you. Naturally, it's the first. The second reward method, unless there's something the house really needs, no one would want to take advantage of it. Old Ancestor Yu smiled. I'm afraid all the houses are going for the first reward method. That's right. If it wasn't something they really needed, who would spend 100 million to get the right to trade? Plus, they might not even be able to get it. Xiaoqin nodded. Then, father, who do you think should go? Yu Bing and Yu Shan. Elder Yu said, we'll send 2 people this time. Let them go. Yu Bing as well? Xiaoqin paused, naturally approving of Yu Shan going to the Ice Palace's test. Yu Shan was the son of his second brother, and he was very talented. But there were always fights in every big house, and Yu Shan was talented, so naturally he wanted to be the third heir of House Yu. But from a selfish point of view, Xiaoqin still wanted his son Yu Bing to be the next heir. Chapter 1455. Yes, father, I know what's important. Xiaoqin nodded. That's secret, no one knows. That old thing doesn't know the truth either, but I'm afraid that even if we don't say it, the ancient sects will suspect us. Didn't that thing 19 years ago prove this point? They've seen something. You don't have to worry about that. No matter how talented Yuning is, no one will be able to see anything without the inheritance. Old Yu said faintly, what you need to do is do your best to welcome this glory. Once House Yu has 4 Sky Class Masters, and if you can break through to Sky Class 2, then we'll have 5. Even the ancient sects will be considered strong. At that time, House Yu won't be a hidden house anymore, but an ancient house. With that, Elder Yu couldn't help but start laughing heartily. He'd been waiting for this day for a long time. He'd been looking forward to the glory of House Yu. Yes, father, I understand. Xiaochen nodded solemnly. Yu Bing's talent isn't bad, but if he wants to break through to Sky Class, he needs luck, just like you and I. Yu Ning and her, however. They're people who can break through to Sky Class without a doubt. The core of House Yu must be controlled by Sky Class Masters, and we can let Yu Bing handle the family affairs. Old Yu said, right, how's the Qi gathering pill thing? Father, it failed. Xiaochen's face flashed with disappointment as he said helplessly, it's fine if it failed, we'll talk about it in the future. Old Yu said, don't put too much importance on this. It'll affect your normal training. Yes, father. Xiaochen nodded quickly. There's one more thing. You need to know that the test will be dangerous, and Yu Bing and Yu Shan might lose their lives. Old Ancestor Yu sighed as if he was reminiscing about the past. Everyone, for the sake of the final score, even friends and teammates would turn against each other. Everyone knows that this is a rare opportunity, so you have to be mentally prepared. Xiaochun startled. He only knew that passing the test would give him great benefits, but he didn't know that it would be dangerous as well. And so he quickly asked, does that mean that Yu Bing might be in danger if he goes? Then, little Chun, your thoughts aren't steady enough. As a family head, you should look at the family's future and benefits. Selfishness is not something a family head should have. Yu Bing is my descendant, and so is Yu Shan, Yu Ning, and the others. Old Ancestor Yu said, but you only have Yu Bing in your eyes, not Yu Shan. Please forgive me, father. Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat as he realized that he'd just broken a taboo. If House Yu wanted to develop, the head of the house couldn't be selfish. Only those who were capable could rise to the top, and that was the only way to ensure the house's prosperity. Once the head of the house showed selfishness, then the house would be in danger. Yu Bing and Yu Shan are both quite talented. If they can pass the test this time, then the training in the Ice Palace will benefit them a lot. If they don't pass, then they can only blame themselves for not being strong enough. If they can't stand out from the other participants, then how would they have the right to take care of the entire House Yu? Elder Yu was quite open-minded. For the sake of the house, we have to sacrifice what we have to. Yes, father, I understand. Xiaochen nodded firmly. Yu Bing and Yu Shan, this time it's all up to you. At the same time, House Yu wasn't the only one who received the invitation. There was the Hidden House Zhao, the Hidden House Pai, and some other sects and gangs. As long as they were qualified, they would receive the invitation. Other than the 9 aristocratic families, almost all the other forces had received the Ice Palace's invitation to the trial. It wasn't that the Ice Palace purposely excluded the 9 noble houses, but because none of the noble houses' young generation were mystics. Only House Yu had mystics, but if the Hidden House Yu wanted the common House Yu to participate, they wouldn't need to send an invitation. And so, the Ice Palace ignored these noble houses. Chi-Chi, you'll have to rely on yourself for this Ice Palace test. You can't always carry out missions under my protection. An old man said seriously to a girl in front of him. The Ice Palace test doesn't allow outsiders to protect you, or the test would lose its meaning. Don't worry, Grandpa Tombstone, I'll be careful. I'll definitely get the treasure exchange rights. Chi-Chi clenched her fist and nodded solemnly. You're a mystic early-phase physical practitioner, but you're still too inexperienced. Physical practitioners lack battle experience. That's a fatal weakness. Plus, you're a physical master who specializes in Qigong, so you're weak in terms of attack power. I'm really worried. Tombstone sighed, but there was nothing he could do. After all, the Ice Palace's trial was a rare opportunity. If he didn't participate, He wouldn't know when he would have to wait for the next trial. It's fine, I'm good at Qigong. If I can't win, I can run, Chi-Chi said with a comforting smile. When I get enough points, I'll run to a safe place and hide. That's the only way. Tombstone nodded. Remember, if your ambush doesn't work, run. Don't keep fighting. Not to mention the fact that the opponent is a Mystic class master. Even if it's a normal Golden class master, you may not be his match if you face him head-on. I understand, Chi-Chi said, but she was still unconvinced. Why couldn't she, a Mystic early-phase physical practitioner, beat a Golden class? She wasn't that bad, was she? A similar scene was happening in the hidden House Zhao as well. The young head of House Zhao, Guanyin, was pacing back and forth in front of his father's isolation room, making Elder Bai dizzy. Young master, the head of the house is in solitary meditation, and he won't be coming out anytime soon. Why don't you take charge of this? The Ice Palace test is important, but it's not as important as the head of the house. Elder Bai said helplessly as he looked at the frowning Guanyin. Elder Bai, what do you think? Guanyin couldn't make up his mind, so he asked. Elder Bai was right. The Ice Palace test was important, but it wasn't as important as his father breaking through to Sky Class. But he couldn't make the decision himself, and the only person he could discuss it with was Elder Bai. Chapter 1456. Chapter 1454. Ice Palace Test, Part 2. But the key is, who should we send? Zhao Guanyin was hesitant about this matter. Right now, among the younger generation of House Zhao, only his third brother's son, Zhao Qikuan, had broken through Golden Class and entered Mystic. His and Xiaojin's son was still young, only Golden Class, a bit away from Mystic. Zhao Qibing, on the other hand, wasn't even close, so they could only send his third brother's son, Zhao Qikuan, or a disciple who didn't share the surname of Zhao. There were a few Mystic masters who met the requirements of the test. Originally, if the Ice Palace's trial was held a few years later, I would have let Qibing go. But now, I can only let Chitan go. Elder Bai said, the others aren't the core of House Zhao, so we need to consider their loyalty. That, if we let Chitan go, in the future, Guanyin was worried about his two sons. What if Qikuan broke through Mystic to Earth class? Then he'd be the heir of House Zhao, and that wasn't something Guanyin wanted to see. But if they didn't let him go and let the other disciples go, it was just as Elder Bai said. They were still young, and their loyalty wasn't that strong yet. What if they grew up and decided not to return to House Zhao? What would they do then? This put Guanyin in a difficult position. Young master, this is a chance for House Zhao, and we can't give it up. Right now, only Chitan is suitable, and if the old head comes out, he'll probably make the same decision. Elder Bai said, these few years I'll work hard to train Qibing and make him an Earth class as soon as possible. I'll do my best, but if Chitan can become an Earth class, then we'll just have to leave it to fate. House Zhao's future will still be decided by the strongest. That's the only way. Guanyin sighed. Although he wasn't willing to accept this decision, he had no other choice. Then let Chitan go. Send a more loyal Mystic class disciple to go with Chitan. Every house in power had two places. Guanyin didn't want Chitan to succeed, but he didn't want him to die. After all, Chitan's aptitude was outstanding, and it was very important to the Zhao family's future. Now that he had a helper to accompany him to participate in the trial, his chances of success could be guaranteed. Even if he couldn't pass the trial, staying alive should not be a problem. The Hidden House Pai, on the other hand, sent Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai to join the test. The two brothers didn't fight against each other. Pai Zhishan wanted to be the head of the house, but Pai Zhihai didn't. He was only interested in martial arts, and nothing else mattered to him. The two brothers had a good relationship, so House Pai let Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai team up for the test. This way, they could increase their chances of winning. In Chu's villa, Lin Yi bid farewell to Kong, Xiao Fun, Fatty Lai, and the others. He was about to embark on his journey to the extreme north. These 2 days, Lin Yi packed his things and bought some necessities for his long journey. Boss Lin Yi, aren't you going to say goodbye to Sun Jingyi? Tian had been in isolation for the past few days, and his iron fist arts finally broke through to mystic early phase. He could finally come out. But even Tian was told by Lin Yi not to spread the news, including House Wu. Lin Yi was going to cause trouble for House Yu during the Noble House meeting, and he couldn't give House Yu time to prepare. If House Yu knew about Tian's breakthrough, they would definitely be on guard. It wouldn't be good if they connected the dots. After all, Tian was crippled by Uncle Zhu, and this wasn't a secret. The news had spread to all the noble houses, and old Wu was crying every day. Tian was the hope of House Wu, and Wu Gongao had high hopes for him. He didn't expect that Tian would be heavily injured. Yet, Gongao didn't dare seek revenge after learning of Tian's injury. It was the hidden House Zhao, and House Wu wouldn't dare seek revenge unless they didn't want to live anymore. Seeking revenge from the hidden House Zhao was the same as seeking death. After Tian was injured, there was no news of him, and Tian hung up the phone, not contacting Gongao at all. He didn't want to hurt Gongao, but what Tian didn't know was that the news had already been leaked. The two Xiao family brothers who had a grudge against him wouldn't hide this for him. Gongao felt that his grandson was stupid, standing up for Lin Yi's woman and getting heavily injured. Now that he was a boss, what was the use? Something happened, and they disappeared without a trace. If it wasn't for Gongao preparing for the Noble House meeting, he would have come to Songshan to look for Tian himself. Of course, in House Wu, the happiest person was Wu Qingdi. Tian was crippled, and no one knew if he was alive or dead. This was a good chance for him to rise to the top. He had been eyeing the position of House Wu's heir for a long time, and now he finally had the chance. As far as he was concerned, even if Tian wasn't dead and was found, he wouldn't be a threat to him anymore. Grandpa, I'm sorry for your loss. The important thing now is the Noble House meeting, and we need to stay in the Noble House meeting. We'll talk about other things after the meeting. Tian comforted Gongao. The family still has me, and I'll work hard to get revenge for my brother. Gongao nodded sadly. He didn't like Tian, but he had to focus on training him. But in his heart, he still had some hope. He hoped that Tian's injuries weren't that serious, and that he could recover. After all, physical practitioners didn't need meridians that much. As long as Tian's hands weren't damaged, he could still practice Iron Fist. But Tian was right. The most important thing now was to stay in the Noble House meeting. If House Wu was finished, then it would be over. Luckily, Gongao was mystic mid-phase, and he was the in-law of House Lu. He wouldn't be in too much danger at the Noble House meeting. In the Chu Villa, Lin Yi heard Tian's words and thought of Sun Jingyi. In fact, Lin Yi didn't think of Sun Jingyi before. After all, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi didn't have much interaction, and most of the time, he was just a shield. After Tian gave up on Sun Jingyi, Lin Yi didn't have much interaction with her. Chapter 1457. Chapter 1455. The wrong person with that thought. Lin Yi called Sun Jingyi. Wu Tian stopped harassing Sun Jingyi recently, and Sun Jingyi was quite happy at first. But as time went by, Sun Jingyi realized that she hadn't heard from Lin Yi for a long time. It wasn't that Sun Jingyi liked Lin Yi that much, but Sun Jingyi felt that Lin Yi was a special person, and it was interesting when she was with him. It would be nice to have him as a friend. But now that Wu Tian stopped harassing her, and Sun Jingyi didn't have an excuse to look for Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi suddenly realized how boring life was. Before Wu Tian harassed her, before she knew Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi didn't think much of it. She was busy with the company, and her life was fulfilling. But now, thinking about the things she did with Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi felt very excited. Sun Jingyi was a multifaceted person. On the surface, she looked dignified, the image of a strong businesswoman. But in her bones, she was a little rebellious and crazy. Stealing the recordings with Lin Yi, tricking Wu Tian with Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi felt very good. Of course, when everyone knew that Wu Tian was Lin Yi and Heir Gun's follower, Sun Jingyi didn't know. She was a part of House Sun, but she didn't have any information channels. She herself didn't have much contact with her family, and she only saw her brother, Sunny Kai, once a while ago. The phone rang, and Sun Jingyi thought it was a colleague, so she picked it up. "Hello, I'm Sun Jingyi." "Jean, it's me, the great thief." Lin was about to go look for the fire spirit's fruit, and his mood was quite good. Thinking back to the first time Sun Jingyi called him, Lin couldn't help but make a joke. "Great bandits? You got the wrong person. I don't know any great bandits." Sun Jingyi froze. She subconsciously thought that the person had called the wrong number. But wait, the person seemed to call her Jingyi, so he should know her. This voice was also very familiar. The next moment, Sun Jingyi reacted. "Lin, it's me." Lin smiled and said, "We haven't talked for a long time. How are you?" "It's all right. That's it. I'm busy every day." Not knowing why, Sun Jingyi was particularly happy after hearing Lin Yi's voice. "What about you? How have you been lately? Have you forgotten about me? This half-lover? You don't even want to date me?" "Huh?" Lin smiled. "Isn't that just an act? How do you date me? You want me to touch you?" "You idiot." Sun Jingyi blushed. "Why are you thinking about this? You already have 2 girlfriends. Do you still need me?" "Yeah, I have a girlfriend." Thinking back to the time when he, Xiao Xiao, and Sun Jingyi messed with Wu Qintian, Lin felt nostalgic. But Xiao Xiao is unconscious. "Ah, she's unconscious? What happened?" Sun Jingyi was shocked. She had a good impression of Xiao Xiao. The two of them worked together to mess with Wu Qintian. Hearing this news, how could Sun Jingyi not be worried? Xiao Xiao. Lin told Sun Jingyi about Xiao Xiao, including how they met and how they got together. He told her everything. It wasn't a secret, so there was no harm in telling her. "Ah, so many things happened between you and Xiao Xiao." Sun Jingyi was shocked after hearing Lin Yi's words. She didn't think that the optimistic and weird girl would be so sick and have one foot in the grave. But at that time, she didn't show anything. So, this trip is also to find medicine for her. Lin said, "I might have to leave for a while. If you have any trouble, look for Wu Qintian." Sun Jingyi was confused after hearing Lin Yi's words. "Look for Wu Qintian? I can't even avoid him. Why would I look for him? You're not joking, are you? Wu Qintian didn't bother you recently, right? I've taken him in as my follower, and he said that you were his sister-in-law, so naturally, he won't bother you anymore." Lin smiled. "Huh? Wu Qintian became your follower?" Sun Jingyi couldn't understand. Wu Qintian was such an arrogant guy. How did he become Lin Yi's follower? Sure, Lin Yi was amazing sometimes, but it wasn't enough for Qintian to call him boss, was it? "Do you want to talk to him? He's right next to me." Lin Yi heard Sun Jingyi's surprise and asked. "Then, we'll let him answer the phone." Jingyi was still doubting the truthfulness of the situation. How is this guy so capable? Letting the heir of the Wu family be his underling was a little unimaginable. "For you." Lin passed the phone to Qintian, who was eager to try. "Jingyi, it's me. I've been bothering you before. I'm sorry." Qintian had wanted to apologize to Sun Jingyi for a long time, but he didn't have the chance. Especially after he became a mystic early phase after his injury. He worshipped Lin even more. In his eyes, Lin was a super strong person. So, he didn't dare to disrespect Lin Yi's woman. "Wu Qintian, are you okay?" Sun Jingyi blushed when Qintian called her Jingyi. "Don't call me that. I'm okay." "Ah, no, I'm sick. I'm very sick right now. I got beaten up, and I can't even get out of bed." Qintian suddenly remembered that Lin had told him to keep it a secret and not announce his recovery. So he quickly changed his words. "What are you talking about?" Sun Jingyi didn't understand. "All right, I'll say it." Lin helplessly took the phone and said to Sun Jingyi, "Don't spread the news that Qintian has recovered. He's a mystic, a dual practitioner. If you run into any trouble after I leave, you can contact him." "Recovered? When did he get injured?" Sun Jingyi blinked. "He's a mystic? Really?" Jingyi pinched her thighs. Was she dreaming when she answered the phone? Why did it feel so unreal? Chapter 1458. Chapter 1456. Lin Yi's farewell. "I had a falling out with my family. It's not like you don't know. We rarely contact each other." Sun Jingyi shook her head. "What happened?" Lin Yi told Sun Jingyi about Wu Qintian, and Sun Jingyi finally understood what happened. She was even more shocked. You're saying that Wu Qintian was crippled and heavily injured, and you used a secret technique to turn him into a mystic dual practitioner? Sun Jingyi really didn't know what to say. Was she shocked or envious? Mystic division, a dual practitioner at that. Even among the older generation of noble houses, he would be at the top, not to mention the younger generation. That's basically it. Lin Yi said, but don't tell anyone about this. There's only a limited number of people who know about it, including your family. I'm too lazy to tell them. Sun Jingyi naturally wouldn't tell her family. But you're so strong? Lin Yi, you're not just a great thief, are you? Great thief is actually very strong. It's just that you haven't realized it yet. Lin Yi smiled. Then, can you help me increase my strength? Sun Jingyi couldn't help but ask. This temptation was too hard to resist. What class are you at now? Lin Yi was startled. First level. I wonder what class it is. Sun Jingyi was startled as well. Only then did she realize that her Heart Sutra was different from others. Your family's Heart Sutra is too weird. If you want to try it out, then wait for me to come back, but I won't take responsibility if anything goes wrong. I've never had any experience with that kind of Heart Sutra of yours. Lin Yi remembered that House Sun's Heart Sutra was a special healing type, so he wasn't too confident. Then we'll talk about it when you come back. Sun Jingyi was a little disappointed. After ending the call with Sun Jingyi, Lin Yi was about to set off. He greeted the old man at home and asked about Gooden and Yuan's situation. Lin Yi only relaxed after learning that they were doing well. If Gooden was fine, having him go with you would be a good choice, but it seems like he'll need to rest for a while. Old Lin said, the spring water can't be carried around. Once it's out of the fountain for a while, it'll lose its effect. This limits Gooden's movements. Yeah. Lin Yi also sighed and said, unless he can find that kind of elixir or break through to the heaven stage and use the heaven stage true qi to nourish the goo poison in his body, there's no other way. Lin Yi and Old Lin had been looking into Gooden's matter, but they didn't get any results. There were only two ways to make Gooden go back to normal. One was to find another elixir and have Old Lin make another type of goo poison to balance the goo poison in his body. After reaching a certain balance, Gooden wouldn't need to drink the spring water anymore. The second way was to break through to Sky Class and use the Sky Class True Qi to nourish the goo poison in place of the spring water. But this breakthrough had to be done in one go, or else the Golden, Mystic, and Earth class would all be instantly absorbed by the goo poison due to the lack of qi. Not only would it not achieve the goal of nourishing the goo poison, but it would also be a waste of time. In the end, he would still need to drink the spring water. But right now, neither of these two methods worked. That elixir was said to be extinct, and there was no substitute for it. Sky Class was an unreachable dream for Gooden. Even Lin Yi wasn't Sky Class yet, so how could Gooden break through to Sky Class? But there's hope now. Since you can mass-produce masters of the same level as you, then when you raise Gooden to Sky Class, there won't be this restriction. Old Lin naturally knew about Lin Yi's stuff, and Lin Yi never hid it from Old Lin. In theory, it's possible, but I don't know if it'll work in practice. After all, it's only possible to break through from Golden Class to Mystic, but it might not work when it comes to Earth Class, Lin Yi said worriedly. Yeah, we can only take it one step at a time. After all, as his strength increases, the difficulty of breaking through to the next level will increase. It won't be so easy anymore, Old Lin said. The farewell with Tang Yun, the miss, and Shu was a little depressing. Although everyone looked happy, when they thought about how Lin Yi might be gone for a few months, they couldn't bear to part with him. All right, don't be sad. I'm going to find a cure for Xiao Xiao. It's not like I'm not coming back. Lin Yi looked at Tang Yun and smiled. Come, let's say goodbye with a kiss. You. Tang Yun blushed a little. If it was only Lin Yi, Tang Yun would definitely say yes. But there was the miss and Shu beside her. Naturally, Tang Yun was embarrassed. The three of them had passed the stage of jealousy, and they all knew what was going on. There was no need to show anything. Oh, I want it. Shield bro, quick, kiss me. Yushu raised her hand and volunteered. Shoo, don't mess around. Mingyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lin Yi and Tang Yun were flirting. What were you doing? Wouldn't that ruin the atmosphere? Even Tang Yun couldn't help but giggle. Then you can kiss Shu. Tang Yun didn't hate Yushu anymore. They'd been together for a long time, and she'd gotten used to it. Even Xiao Xiao had accepted her, so Tang Yun wouldn't mind another Yushu. Plus, Tang Yun knew very well whether or not there was something going on between the two. At most, the two were a little flirty, but they definitely didn't become a couple. Meng Yao's thoughts were all over the place, and Tang Yun couldn't be bothered to care about that. However, Little Shu's interjection came at the right time, making the originally dull atmosphere livelier. I'm leaving. You guys study hard at home and try to get into a good university, Lin Yi smiled. Although Pingzhan had made the arrangements, getting into a university and paying for it was a different feeling. Lin Yi was driving a modified Grand Cherokee that Tianlong prepared for him, with a modified ice coffin in the back. This kind of modified car might be a little troublesome on the road, but Tianlong had clearly thought about it. The car had a special license plate, and there were some documents in the car, ensuring that Lin Yi could get to his destination smoothly. Chapter 1459. Chapter 1457. Depart after getting in the car. Lin Yi slowly disappeared into the darkness of the night from the girl's line of sight, quickly disappearing without a trace. Let's go back. Meng Yao sighed lightly and said to Tang Yun and Yu Shu. Yeah, Tang Yun nodded. She needed to work hard on her studies. At the very least, she couldn't let them miss, and Shu looked down on her. Qin Tian temporarily stayed in the guest room of House Chu's villa as a temporary bodyguard. Qin Tian, on the other hand, was very well behaved and didn't say a word. He'd take the food that Faubert brought and go back to his room to eat, not bothering with the miss and the others at all. But on the night that Lin Yi left, there was another robbery in a bank. The bank robber was still driving an unlicensed Land Rover, and the robber was still wearing a mask. However, he didn't seem to care about the surveillance cameras capturing his movements, as if letting the police know his height and appearance didn't affect him at all. Otherwise, with this person's skills, it would be a piece of cake for him to destroy the bank surveillance video. He could really just raise his hand, throw a coin or a stone, and he would be able to break it. But this time, the robber chose a 24-hour bank. The robber had always done it in the day, and this was the first time he did it at night. Lingshan was going crazy. Just who the hell was this guy? She'd already compared all the registered practitioners' information, but she couldn't find a single one that was similar. Captain Song, the robber, is very cunning. There's no pattern to the range and time of the robberies. Wanli said, troubled. This was also what gave Lingshan a headache. The robber could rob one area today, and the next, he could rob another area. They could do it today and not do it again for a few days, or they could rob a bank here, and then they could rob a shop there. You never knew what the robber was going to do. Lingshan had no other choice. After asking Huaijuan, she had no choice but to send a large number of police officers to patrol all the banks in the city. Fortunately, there were no more robberies this time. But just as Lingshan breathed a sigh of relief, one night, the robber robbed more than 10 star hotels, taking a large amount of cash. The robber, on the other hand, was very skilled, and the robber's speed was unimaginable. It was as if the hotel's cash storage area had been planned beforehand, and the robber didn't even say a word after entering the hotel. He used violence to open the cash boxes and safes, and if anyone tried to stop him, he'd send them flying with a punch, heavily injuring them. Now, the hotel staff didn't dare fight back when they were robbed like this. They all knew how strong the robber was, and that he could cripple them with one punch. Who would dare do anything? Left with no other choice, Lingshan sent a large number of people from the neighboring cities to patrol the luxurious hotels, shopping malls, jewelry shops, luxury stores, and other places where there was a large amount of cash flow. Evidently, the robber had eyes on the police as well, and with the increased police force, the robber changed his modus operandi and started robbing cash trucks. And so, many cash trucks were robbed in the city, and the robber's modus operandi was the same. He stopped the cash truck with violence, knocked the driver out with one punch, and continued robbing after getting in the truck. The armed officer didn't even have time to react before his gun was crushed into scrap metal in the robber's hands. There was nothing that could be done about violent people like this. Jiang Wen looked at his rapidly increasing wealth, a smile blossoming on his face. Not bad, not bad. The money's coming in really fast. This much money in such a short time. Jiang Wen said to Scorpion with a smile. The head of the Firewolves North Division personally called to praise me, and he's going to promote me to a special consultant position for the Firewolves. I'll be able to command the Firewolves directly. Congratulations, young Master One, congratulations, Scorpion said quickly. But the police have already increased the patrol area, and there's no place for us to continue. Plus, 01's probably going to be exposed soon. We didn't do it on purpose, but 01's identity will be suspected soon. It's fine, we've already robbed this much, and it's enough. 01's existence is to be discovered by the police. How can we frame Lin if the police don't find out? Jiang Wen waved his hand nonchalantly. Professor Yin has plenty of samples like 01's, and he can make a lot more of them. We'll send more people to take 01's stuff when he's exposed. But we don't have a chance to do it now. Scorpion asked. 01's gonna get caught by the police. He's strong, but he's only a golden class physical practitioner. Lingshan is a master. Naturally, I know that. We don't need to rob for now. Let's stop the plan. Jiang Wen said nonchalantly. The money we've gotten is enough. Even if I don't do anything for a year, the Firewolves won't say anything. That's true. Who in the Firewolves could earn as much money as Jiang Wen? Scorpion had heard of Jiang Wen's exploits, too. Kidney removal, underground fighting arena. All of these were very profitable businesses. Now, 01 doesn't need to rob anymore. He'll rest for a while, and then he'll go rob people on the streets and create some vicious crimes. Jiang Wen said, Our next goal is to ruin Lin Yi's reputation and make him a villain. Yes, we'll rest for a while then. Scorpion nodded. It was the third day Lin Yi was out, and most of the time, Lin Yi was on the highway, heading to the extreme north. Since Lin Yi was a practitioner, he didn't need a rest. Lin Yi could walk on the highway 24 hours a day, except for the time he stopped to check on Xiao Xiao. Fortunately, Xiao Xiao's ice coffin was working normally, and there was nothing wrong with it. It seemed like Tianlong's technology was quite good. The further north they went, the less people there were, and the roads from before had turned into rugged and winding paths. Fortunately, Lin Yi's car was an off-road vehicle, and it wasn't a problem for him to travel on these roads. If it weren't for Zhang Liju's medical notes, Lin Yi would have thought that they were going the wrong way. Chapter 1460. Little guy, you still don't feel anything? Lin Yi asked as he looked at Skybolt Pig in the passenger seat. Gee. Skybolt Pig shook his head lazily. You're so weak. What's the use of having you around? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This little thing had been lying on the passenger seat without making a sound. Lin Yi wasn't sure if it had sensed the presence of the fire spirit's fruit or not. GG% #yen. Skybolt Pig grunted in dissatisfaction. Lin Yi didn't have a choice but to follow the GPS coordinates. There wasn't any map nearby, and the computer in the car was all blank. He could only set a coordinate and use it as a general direction to find his way. Because he wasn't sure if there was a road ahead, Lin Yi would often find that he couldn't go any further. He had to turn back and find another route. When he turned back, he had to go to the nearest town to refuel. Although the car had some gasoline, Lin Yi was afraid that there would be no more gas stations if he went any further. So he didn't mind going back and refueling. There weren't many residents in the town, and there weren't many outsiders either. However, no one questioned Lin Yi's strange behavior. This surprised Lin Yi. Why weren't these people afraid of strangers? It was as if Lin Yi's presence here was a matter of course. However, Lin Yi would return empty-handed every time. In the end, there was nowhere to go. This forced Lin Yi to temporarily stay in a small inn. Then, based on the route he had been walking for the past few days, he drew a rough map. Sadly, It seemed like he had walked through all the routes on the map. He still hadn't found a way to go. Just as he was about to try another path on foot, it started snowing heavily. The snow covered the sky, making it hard for people to see what was in front of them. All they could see was a blur of white, and visibility was poor. This was a visual obstruction caused by obstacles. Even if Lin entered the space of the jade pendant to sense the situation outside, he would still see flying snow. This place was not far from the extreme north, so it was reasonable for the weather to be cold and snowy. Lin could only stay in the inn in the town for the time being, waiting for the snow to stop before slowly thinking of a solution. What made Lin distressed was that when he asked the owner of the inn about the situation of the snow, the answer he got was that the heavy snow might last for 3 days to a month. This kind of situation often happened in the extreme north. The car was parked below Lin Yi's room. Lin didn't need to sleep, and he could sense his surroundings when he was practicing. He didn't need to worry about people going after Xiao Xiao. "Stupid pig, can you find the fruit or not?" Lin, he was a little annoyed. After all, he had walked such a long way. Seeing that he was close to the coordinates and unable to move forward, it was really annoying. Oink oink. Skybolt pig whimpered, feeling wronged. Lin sighed. The terrain today was different from ancient times, and after so long, it was normal for it to change. Lin was even thinking that if he couldn't think of a way, should he ask Tianlong to send a helicopter? But Lin, he didn't want to make it public. This fruit was obviously good stuff, and if the hidden houses knew about it, would they come for it? The weather wasn't something Lin could change, and the only thing Lin could do was wait. Luckily, Lin was a patient man. After the first day of impatience, Lin calmed down. Lin took out Zhang Liju's notes and flipped through it slowly. At first, Lin thought that making elixirs was an easy task, but after reading the notes, Lin finally understood what it meant to be a child in the presence of a great master. What he had done before couldn't even be considered alchemy. In the ancient times, a powerful doctor like Lin was called a pharmacist by the alchemists, the lowest level of existence in the alchemist world. He couldn't even be considered a beginner. Of course, pharmacists were the lowest level of elixir, but it was enough for normal people. Pharmacists were more than enough to cure illnesses and save lives. But the main target of elixir, practitioners were practitioners. Elixir, they could make all sorts of elixirs, but most of them were related to practitioners, such as chi-gathering elixirs, spirit-gathering elixirs, etc. There was also the meridian-opening elixir, which could repair internal injuries and damage meridians. These were all normal elixirs in the eyes of an elixir master. Lin didn't think that a normal elixir like chi-gathering elixir would be so popular. Was it because the elixir master's level was too hard to level up, or was it because his vision was too limited, limiting the practitioners to the hidden houses? Elixir master was just a general term, and there were levels among elixir. It was the same as practitioners. The strength of an elixir master was also divided according to heaven, earth, mystic, and Huang. At first, Lin thought that heaven, earth, mystic, and Huang were just used to differentiate the strong and the weak, but it seemed like this had existed since the ancient times and wasn't just created now. Although they were both heaven, earth, mystic, and Huang, the division of each level was different. Each level was divided into 7 levels: Huang level 1, Huang level 2, all the way to Huang level 7. Each level could be made into a corresponding elixir, such as chi-gathering elixir, which was a Huang level 3 elixir. And this elixir master's notes only introduced some of the experiences up to mystic level 1. There was nothing about the levels after that. From the looks of it, Zhang Liju only reached mystic level 1 elixir master back then, and didn't break through again. From this point, one could see that it was really hard to level up a elixir master's strength. Zhang Liju also mentioned that the levels after mystic, earth, and sky were all legendary existences, and whether they existed or not, he couldn't find out in his life. Was it because someone purposely set the levels like this, and it was impossible to reach the levels after that? Or did it really exist, and his ability and strength were limited? Zhang Liju only made a simple guess. Therefore, when mentioning a certain type of pill nowadays, they would only say that it was a third or fourth grade pill. They would omit the words yellow grade and not mention yellow grade pills anymore. That was because no one had ever seen a third or fourth grade pill other than yellow grade pills. Mystic level 3 or 4, Jean Liju had never heard of it, and he even wanted to find a person who had made a mystic level 1 and above, but he couldn't find it at all. With his social connections, he couldn't even find it, let alone other people. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.